Morning. What's up? How you doing? Yep. It's Coach Renz in the house again. Starting a little bit late today because I had to go and pick up some cigars from my cigar vendor. I had to pick up some cigars, so we started a little bit late. But we here. We're going to get this in. If you're finding me for the first time, what we do here on this channel is that we, for the most part, we deconstruct religion, but we also look to grow our spirituality. But we are very historical in our facts. We look for facts. We don't go off emotions. You know, emotions are something that you control, but we go off of facts. We get as much information as we can. We use critical thinking on this channel. Critical thinking. And it's going to take some critical thinking to go over this subject matter today of the Anunnaki. But we use critical thinking, which means that we gather as many facts as we possibly can. We gather as many facts as we possibly can. Having all the facts is nigh impossible in most cases, but we gather as many facts as we possibly can. We take those facts, we gain a level of understanding. It's funny, it reminds me yesterday on the live, the gentleman was saying that he gets facts. He gets knowledge. Knowledge is purely facts. But there can be a lack of understanding of that knowledge, so you have to come into a level of understanding. Once you get into a level of understanding, then we can take the understanding and put it into practice. We can test it to see what the results are, and that is what we call wisdom. So everything on this channel goes through that process. That's the process that we go through. That's the process of critical thinking that you have to go through in order to be on this channel, in order to hang in this channel, in order for you to grow, and for you to grow spiritually, for you to grow emotionally, to grow based on your wisdom, everything in life. Financially, if you wanted to grow, you got to have all the facts and then gain an understanding and then the wisdom. I can show you guys my budget plan, but by showing you my budget plan, does that mean that you're going to be able to manage your money in such a way that you're good to go? Maybe not. It depends on your understanding. So we're going to talk about the Anunnaki today. And we're going to talk about the Anunnaki. And so we're on 3 different channels. We're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Hey, share the video. I need y'all to like it up. Hit all them like buttons on my TikTok. Share and like on Facebook. Same thing on YouTube. What's up, YT? How you doing? If you ain't said nothing on TikTok, you ain't getting on my podcast. So y'all can do them stupid little battle things that people don't be doing. I don't even understand the purpose of that. Oh, we already got somebody. We're talking about the Anunnaki. And if your name is user something, you can't even put you ain't even got a name and a picture. I'm not even paying attention to your question. So if you're just user 587215673118, you're not even worth my conversation. So I will ignore that. I will ignore that, especially when you make an assumption before I even talk about anything. That's the funny part about it. But we're going to talk about the Anunnaki today, but we're going to go a little bit deeper than just the Anunnaki. Some of the things about the Anunnaki is going to be my opinion based on the evidence and the information that I've been able to acquire over the years. And then, can anybody prove physical Anunnaki? Hell no. Let's go ahead and establish that right now. You can about as much prove the Anunnaki as you can prove Jesus. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. You can about as much prove the Anunnaki as much as you can prove Jesus. But here's the thing. There's actually more circumstantial evidence for the Anunnaki than there is for Jesus. That actually should have been the title. That should have been the title right there. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you type in all caps, I will blank you. I will kick you off this channel. I kick you off this channel for that all caps thing. Because you're just trying to get some attention, trying to be seen. I will kick you off this channel. I'm learning TikTok. Oh, okay. Quite easy. Quite easy. You want to be blocked? There you go. Block. Boom. DB White. You gonna tell me do it? Boom. Why somebody on social media where they're on their live go challenge you to do something like, do it. I'm a man. Oh, we want to be rude. That's the other thing. If we can't have no respect for people, show me your EBT card. First of all, bro, I own a cigar lounge, so I ain't got an EBT card. Go on back to your job and do some work or something. Oh Lord, I'm learning the block hand is getting strong, y'all. Today is the no. Today I start a new day, y'all. I start a new day. I start a new day of I ain't dealing with no bullshit. I don't have to be polite. I didn't realize that till earlier today. I was riding in my car. I was on the way here, and I was like, on social media, why am I being polite to some of these people who are impolite to me? I ain't gotta be polite to them. To hell with them. One love, Mark coming out of Jamaica. What up, man? Great days. Yes, let's get it. If you have heard anything about the Anunnaki, I definitely want your opinions. I want your thoughts, but we're going to talk about this whole Anunnaki story. And right off the bat, let's go ahead and satisfy a couple of issues. We're not going to be rude to each other. We're not going to call each other names. We're not going to be disrespectful to one another. That's plain and simple. You're going to get the same amount of respect from me that you give, right? So that's what we're going to do. Now, we are going to base this on what we're looking at here is different writings from around the world. And a lot of people like to say that some people, they're trying, okay, here's an interesting thing. When something like the Anunnaki story gained a lot of popularity especially when Zachariah Sitchin came out with his book, The Earth Chronicles, right? And then a lot of other so-called scholars was like, well, we got to go after him. And why are people showing up at my lounge? Oh, they ain't showing up at my lounge. They next door. I'm gonna say we ain't open yet. We're not open yet. But a lot of people, they want to say that he translated things wrong. Let's be clear. Zachariah Sitchin never translated anything. I mean, he did some translation. Let me not say that. He did learn and understand cuneiform. But most of his translations, most of the stories had already been told, and they were from translation that happened prior. He was not the original person to translate cuneiform into English through all the stages to get to English. This had already been done. If you've ever read, by show of yeses, have you ever read The Richest Man in Babylon? Anybody's ever read The Richest Man in Babylon? I need to know. There's a reason why I'm asking. Anybody ever read if y'all ain't read The Richest Man in Babylon, y'all need to read The Richest Man in Babylon. Daryl, you need to read The Richest Man in Babylon. I mean, the financial understanding from that book is amazing. It's great. Great days. I need you to read it. Read The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a great book. It changed my life when I was it changed my financial life back when I was 23. All right. So the reason why I asked that question is because the tablets to which The Richest Man in Babylon are translated from, most of them were translated in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Okay. Late 1800s, early 1900s. Especially the one about the professor. One professor, he tells you straight up around about the year in the late 1800s that he received the tablets from one of his archaeology friends, back in in the 1800s, and how he utilized. And that's why when you read his story, you're gonna be like, okay, we don't necessarily have all these local vendors. We don't have credit with stores anymore, in the same way that they had credit. Like back in the day, you had direct credit in a book that the shopkeeper kept. But he gives his time frame. It's like the 1870, 1890, something like that. So this is well before Zachariah Sitchin was born. The guy who got rich off selling drugs and passed his knowledge down. No. The Richest Man in Babylon is ancient cuneiform text that was found in Iraq, Iran, that whole Levant area. And it talks about, it gives you the story of Arcad, who was the richest man in Babylon during the reign of Babylon during the 500s BCE, when, around 500 BCE, and how he made money, how he went from being poor to making money, to becoming the richest man in Babylon, with some basic principles about money, right? I know it's just my nature, Michael, from what I was saying earlier, but I got to stop being that guy to some of these people. So I say that, I bring up the richest man in Babylon so that you'll understand that Zechariah Sitchin, David Icke, some of these people who are more famous for translating or talking about the Anunnaki story, they are, oh, this ain't plugged in. They are not the original. They didn't translate this themselves and with an agenda of this translation. The form of translating the language of transforming, the ability to translate cuneiform has been an ongoing process from way back, a couple of 100 years ago. So when the Anunnaki story, the Atrahasis, started being found and started being read, and mind you, there's like 200,000 seeds. Somebody already saying Sitchin is fake. Right. David Icke never said he translated anything. They standing on the shoulders of those who had already translated it. Zechariah Sitchin just put the story together. And you can choose not to accept Zechariah Sitchin. That's, everybody got a choice. But the fact remains is that the story of the Anunnaki story and the Bible, for instance, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedics, the story of Atlantis, the Emerald Tablets, the Kemetic story, all these things have a shared history, have a shared root, I should say, more or less, have a shared root. Now, understand that any story, for instance, the story of Anu, Enki, Enlil went from 8,000 years, from 8,000 BCE to like 500, of being told by the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians. So through all that time, you're going to get variations of the story. Just like in the short time frame of the telling of the Jesus story, you had variations. Just in the short time, just in the first 100, 200 years, the story varies. He performs like 5 or 6 miracles in Mark, and he performs like 12, 15 miracles in John. You have variations. You got 4,000 people that he fed. Then all of a sudden you got 6,000 people that he fed. You see what I'm saying? So the story changes, right? So, well, Felipe. So as all these, so these stories, that's why some of them have different names, right? Ilnana and Ishtar are pretty much the same person. Marduk and Baal, pretty much the same person. Enlil and El and Yahweh, same person. So a lot of these are the same persons, just with different names depending upon who's telling the story at what time frame, right? So you get different. So you're going to have those variations. Those variations doesn't falsify the root of the story. It's like any legend. John Henry was a real man, but did John Henry hack his way through a mountain in a day? Not even in a day, in a few hours. No, John Henry didn't do that. But was he a big, strong man who people marveled at his size and his ability to work? Sure. All right. Yep, I use the exact same criteria. So, like I said, Paul, do I 100% believe and have proof, or there's proof that the Anunnaki actually exist? No. who were the Anunnaki? We don't know. We can't necessarily say. I have two competing theories in my head as to who they are. And we're going to talk about those. Now, and it's cool if you don't agree. Matter of fact, I hope people don't agree. But I hope that when you in your disagreement, you have something to substantiate your disagreement, right? Have something to substantiate the disagreement. Don't just come to disagree just to be disagreeable. Yeah. Don't. You missed last week. It's all right, Jeremy. You hit it right now. All right. So many people will ask the question, well, when and where did the Anunnaki come? Why did they come? Why are the Sumerians? We mainly give this to the Sumerians, although the majority of the tablets are written in the Akkadian, but we generally would go with the Sumerians because the Sumerians first are the earliest telling of the story as far as the people in the Levant area. So according to the story, and that's what it is, story. Now, some of the story scientifically we can back up, and some of it we can't, right? So to give you a little bit of, like, the Sumerian story talks about how the gods, the Anunnaki, came around 8,000 BCE and just showed them how to farm. And then some time goes by, and then they show them how to irrigate. The Sumerians and the Kemetic people have what archaeologists call this stair-step growth. Now, this stair-step growth happens, and it's like usually we increase in our technology at a gradual rate. Like you can see step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Now we've been growing much faster since the internet, but there's usually there's usually a slower growth pattern within technology. But the Sumerian and the Kemetics, they just burst on the scene already this major technology and civilization as far as agriculture and things of that nature. And then it's like 1,000 years or 1,500 years later, they have this another massive increase. But there's no connection to the massive increase in technology as far as building and construction and things of that nature. There's no gradual. We haven't found a gradual growth. But in their own story, they claim that the gods came each time and demonstrated and showed them how to do all this stuff, right? But that's their story. That's what they say. But we see that evidently in their history, that's how they were going. The Mayans just burst on the screen. All of a sudden, the Mayans went from a group of people who were hunter-gatherers living in thatched villages to having massive pyramid structures, and those and understanding movements of the stars and alignment and all these sort of things, and creating their calendars. Just all of a sudden, they just had this technology and this knowledge. You had that same thing happen all over the world. The Indus Valley, it happened. China, it happened. Japan, South Pacific, Australia never really hit that big time. They kind of stayed kind of a little slack on that. I don't know why they treated the Australians the way they treated them. But so let me not say all over the world. For the majority of the world, you had this sudden increase in knowledge and of construction and stargazing and all this sort of thing. And each one of them claimed that some deity, some being came and told them. Like in the Mayan story, they say that Kukulkan, or Quetzalcoatl, the feather serpent, that these entities descended from the sky and told them. The Hopi Indians said that the sky people descended and showed them how to build their pyramid mounds. So that's why I say it's circumstantial evidence. And even in people who read the Bible, even though they don't read it in the same way, it always talks about how their God descended on the mountain with fire and smoke and all this sorts of things. There was aliens, fallen angels that are responsible for the megalithic structure all over the earth. And we have those kind of stories. To me, fallen angels are nothing more than the Agigi. For me, it's more likely, can't prove it, more likely to be the Agigi who were on Mars. And when there was about to be this like first union strike, to put it in our today terms, and then from that union strike, they got them some women, got them some wine, and started having all these hybrid children. Hey, don't write in caps. Felipe, don't write in caps. I understand you believe in your one God, that's fine, but all caps, we're not doing that. So let's start as far back as the stories go. And the stories actually go back about 450,000 years ago. All right, it's about how far back these stories go. According to the story, according to the Sumerian, the Akkadians, and when you look at everybody's story, the overwhelming consensus is that it goes back about 450,000 years ago when there was some type of intergalactic battle. Some people like to look at the story starting from Nibiru, and they wanted to come down to Earth and they need to fix their ozone layer. But this is much later. And that's later. But it starts about 450,000 years ago, whole big battle, intergalactic battle, and then an offshoot of them go and they become, they get to the planet Nibiru and they say, okay, hey, we're going to chill on this planet, but we need to have a king, because all that war fighting has destroyed our planet, destroyed a whole bunch of other planets, and we're going to we're going to stop blowing shit up, right? This is what their story says. Can't prove it. Nobody's been out into intergalactic space and met and talked to the people and come back with some proof. They got about as much proof of that as they got a proof of damn near anything else that happened way back then. This is just what they say, right? This is what they say. You can choose to accept it or not. But they said it came down to Earth because they needed to fix their ozone layer. And when they got to Earth to fix their ozone layer, they needed gold. Now, this is one of the reasons why in the Bible it says that after they, garden, when they talk about the Garden of Eden, they say that there was much gold in the land. I never understood that as a child. What does gold matter? But we come to find out that according to the Sumerian story, the reason why gold matters is because gold, monatomic gold sprayed in the atmosphere, can close your ozone layer. Many people don't know, but when I was growing up, the hole in the ozone layer was a really big thing. Really big thing. Do you know how we plugged the ozone layer down in? I think most of the holes were in, on the poles. But do you know how we plugged the ozone layer? We sprayed monatomic gold in the atmosphere. It reflects back the sunlight, the radiation. No, appreciate it, Felipe. Just because you underestimate the natural ability of ancient civilization doesn't mean aliens intervened. We can go both ways with that. That's why I said I got two theories, man. Dang, Paul. Hold on. Let me get to that theory. You know what? I'm going to interlace both theories. How about that? No, I can't do that. So you're just going to have to wait for it. So they come down and they see that there's gold in the land and they start, mining the gold. Right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens as well with Lamu and, between Lamu and Enki and Enlil and all that. Okay, Enki is an offshoot. He's a jump off from Anu and one of his concubines. These people already had polygamy. They established polygamy a long time ago. They also established incest because only through Anu and his sister wife could the royal bloodline flow. And Enlil is a part of the royal bloodline, while Enki is a concubine wife. So they come in and they say, okay, well, the Igigi, which is a different caste of the Anunnaki, and then when you read the story, sometimes the Igigi is a higher caste than the Anunnaki, and sometimes they're a lower caste, depending upon if you're reading the Assyrians or the Akkadians. But the Igigi supposedly were working on Mars, right? And yes, you have to look at the fact that even though some NASA is trying to fade people to the left and say that, oh, the face on Mars is a rock formation, is just a mountain, and it's the shadows that it casts. When you strip away some of the overlays that NASA has put on those photos, you see that it is it's a face. It's not it's an unnatural structure. Also, next to it, there's a pyramid. Then there's some other buildings. So there are unnatural structures on Mars. I honestly, now I do, based on all the different pictures of Mars, there are structures on Mars that they don't want us to know about for multiple reasons. One, I think it'll scare the shit out of people if they find out that there's like structures on Mars. Mars used to have a civilization. There was water on Mars. Mars is not red. They actually use a reddish orange filter on all the pictures of Mars. Mars does not look like the red. When you take off the filters, Mars has like blue sky. Okay, it still has somewhat of an atmosphere. Do you think aliens intervened in the standoff against Russia? It's because science proves the trouble with incest. I don't know about aliens intervening with the whole thing against Russia. I think we just stupid. You know, we're a very immature society. We got missiles pointing all at each other to destroy each other. That's dumb. That's dumb. All right. So the thing about it is the Igigi was like, look, we've been up here for about 200 years working hard. We ain't got no women. Y'all got women. Y'all got other Anunnaki women down there on Earth with y'all, you know, and we ain't got none. And y'all got wine, and we ain't got no wine, you know. Right. It'll destroy us in the process. But we ain't got no wine. So they basically surround, this is according to their story, they surround Anu, Enki, and Harsag, Enlil in their camp. And they're like, we ain't doing this hard labor no more. Now, some stories say that Enki went and told the Igigi that y'all working too hard and y'all need a break and y'all should get some of this wine and some of these women, right? So some stories say that Enki went and he was like, he created this almost revolt. Well, Anu said, you know what, y'all are working too hard. We do need to do something. So, and this is why Enki started the whole revolt thing. Enki was a scientist, according to the story. Now I'm doing NASA. That's flat Earth. Well, no, look, let me put it like this, Paul. I worked for the U.S. government in a job where I know we lied to y'all. I know we lied to y'all. So I don't put it past any government agency to lie to the people for certain reasons. If people were to find out, let's say people found out that there was a civilization on Mars, one is going to terrify people. That's one. So that's a breakdown in society. The second breakdown in society is going to be the fact that rich people are sending up rockets and satellites, so they're going to be, poor against the rich, even more of an aggravation, even though most poor people wouldn't give a shit. Then the main thing is that if they prove that there are civilizations on Mars, and then that would actually give a little bit more credit to the Anunnaki story, then you destabilize religion across the board. And destabilizing religion is one of the reasons why empires fall. So there are a couple of things you have to have in order to maintain your empire. You got to have a religious base, and you have to have a financial base, which we've destroyed the middle class in most of these, in America, definitely. In most countries, they destroyed their middle class, which is a financial base you got to have in order to stabilize your government. But to do those things would destabilize the governments, destabilize your empire, and then next thing you know, you're Rome, and Rome falls. You're the British Empire. The British Empire falls. You're every empire, the Mali, the Songhai empire, and you fall. So when you got to maintain, you can't. Religion has to go away slowly and then but be replaced by another religion. Religion just can't die off and there's nothing to replace it, right? But by letting everybody know that, hey, you know what? The Sumerians story is actually correct. I know they left pictographs of big ass bombs that blew up cities, just like we got nuclear bombs and atomic bombs. They said that they created the irrigation and all that. They had a face on Mars, so they was mining the gold. That would utterly, our civilization is too immature to be able to handle that kind of information. So it's not so much that I am a NASA conspiracist. I just know how I just know the little bit of the government inner workings that I do know, that I participated in. I know that we will lie to y'all if they think that it would be more detrimental for you to know the truth. Because there's some things that happened while I was in and that I dealt with. And if y'all knew it, y'all lost your goddamn mind. And a large portion of the world would have lost their damn mind. And the next thing you know, there would have been much bigger wars than Desert Storm in Afghanistan. A much, much bigger war. Now, he said there'll be much more common sense reasons why there wouldn't be a civilization on Mars. Now, I do think that Mars did have what am I trying to say? An atmosphere and the ability to hold life in the same fashion that Earth has. Because when you look at Mars right now, the temperature around the equator is 90 degrees. 90 degrees. There are, some of the pictures of Mars do show that there were ancient riverbeds and ancient lakes and ancient oceans on Mars, long ass time ago. So something happened to destabilize that atmosphere to the point where it can no longer sustain that same level, right? According to the Sumerian story, it was the collision of Tiamat, the destruction of, I shouldn't say collision, the destruction of Tiamat, which Tiamat was another planet in between Mars and Jupiter. And that planet was destroyed. And when that planet was destroyed, that created the asteroid belt. Many people, and you look at a lot of the ancient stories and they say the hammered bracelet. The hammered bracelet is the asteroid belt, right? So I don't necessarily get with evolution. I get with some of evolution, but not all of evolution. But the hammered bracelet is supposedly the destruction of Tiamat. Now, in some of the stories, the destruction of Tiamat also is what created our moon. And from the destruction of Tiamat, our moon came into. But when Tiamat was destroyed, it also messed up Mars. It stripped off their atmosphere. In other stories, that destruction of Tiamat happened because Tiamat and Nibiru collided with each other, and when it collided, Nibiru came too close to Mars and basically tore off its atmosphere. That's not something that's uncommon because astronomers have figured out that the reason why Uranus is tilted on its poles is because some gravitational pull of some large item that passed by it pulled it so much that it turned the planet off its axis, and turned this off its axis, so its poles are different. And speaking of Uranus, according to the Sumerians, they had said that Uranus was a blue planet. Uranus and Neptune were blue planets and had these oceans on. When the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 got out there, they found that they were, and it said Uranus was tilted. They got out there and saw that it was tilted. So the question has to be, how did the Sumerians know this information? And the Sumerians said they knew it because the gods told them. They didn't say that they sent out satellites or that they had space traveling vehicles or anything like that. Their claim was that the gods told them, right? And I got two theories as to who those guys are. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my other theory of who those guys are, so that we can vacillate between the two. There is also the human civilization, earth-altering events theory. It's called something else, but that's what I'm calling it. That's my long title for it. which means that just as we are a higher functioning society today, technologically, society today, if a remember the movie 2012, if a pole shift like that happened, then our civilization, our world as we know it, would be completely destroyed. Anyone who is able to survive, which would be wouldn't be a lot of people out of the 8 billion people on the planet, you might get 1 million people that survive this thing, right? Maybe even less than that. We would no longer have satellites connections. Satellites would no longer have the internet. You wouldn't have there wouldn't be pretty much no buildings still standing. All our buildings, all these metal buildings we make, this shit gone. You know, everything that we know of, life itself will be gone, destroyed, over. You're starting over at hunter-gatherer, all right? And then you try to build up again, right? Not every civilization has built the same way we built. The pyramids and the Sphinx, and the pyramids all over the world, and the Sphinx shows that there was a time frame when whatever society existed before the last civilization destroying event, they built through earth and materials, you know, and those earthen materials still stayed. They understood certain things. I looked at the ley lines information. I do agree that there are energetic lines that crisscross the planet, and where they intersect, you have a certain type of energy. We haven't figured out how to tap into that energy, to my knowledge, but it doesn't mean that previous civilizations weren't tapped into that. It doesn't mean that the Atlanteans, I do think that there was an Atlantean society, but that Atlantean society was worldwide, not one little island, but a worldwide society. That Earth was probably called Atlantis instead of one city with the rings. That might have just been the capital or main city. According to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, when 56,000 years ago, when Atlantis was destroyed, where the world went through a cataclysmic event, he got on his ship, flew over to Kim, and restarted. Didn't say he created the Kemetic society, but restarted the Kemetic society, right? And what later on becomes what we call Egypt. Now, it is very interesting. If you go and look at some of the pictures that they have on Mars, a lot of the pictures on Mars looks the same as the Kemetic. Looks very much. They got pyramids. They got, Egyptian sarcophagus and statues and stuff like that. It looks very much the same, right? So whoever this civilization prior to this current 10,000 year history that we have today, they could have had different techniques. They might have been able to figure out better sources of energy. If I do think that Tesla did figure out what the pyramids were used for, and that's a power source, and that gave off free energy, free clean energy at that. So if they had some level of free clean energy and was able to utilize that in different ways, I wouldn't doubt that they were traveling intergalactically, or at least around the planet and to our nearest neighbors. I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that they may even have been to the Pleiades, or that they had been to Sirius B and the solar system that goes around Sirius B, and which is the Nomo. The Dogons say that the Nomo came from Sirius B and taught them their civilization, taught them how to build and do all these things. So my other theory is that it could have just been previous civilizations that are natural to Earth that went through cataclysmic events and had to restart society. And that this is something that's been happening for hundreds of thousands of years, if not longer. Because like Adam's calendar is down in South Africa is said to be around 200,000 years old, which would have been one of the time frames that the Igigi and the Anunnaki had their issue and decided that we're going to take this hominid and we're going to give it some of our essence. And then as we give it our essence, and they had multiple trials, multiple different variations, and as we give it until they got to Homo sapien, and then once they got to that point, you know, of Homo sapiens, then they created this, you know, and that was us. So we are, according to that story, a hybrid of a naturally evolved hominid into a hybrid of an Anunnaki, and that hominid, which is the Homo sapiens, and that we were created to do the mining work that the Igigi was doing. But as we grew into consciousness, grew more and more into consciousness, we revolted against the Anunnaki, you know, and then they was like, it's too much to handle, too much to deal with, and they retreated. Some say that they retreated to the Pleiades. Some say they retreated to Antarctica, and they just rule through the royalty, the bloodlines of royalty, and now the bloodlines of the wealthy, the old wealthy families, and that they still rule us, but they rule us through a surrogate type method. I don't know about the ruling through a surrogate type method, because these royal bloodlines are fake as shit and they've changed. Somebody conquered somebody else and then they become the royal bloodline, right? So those are my two theories: aliens, or it's just older civilizations that were with higher technologies, that when things got restarted after the Younger Dryas, they thought that they were either aliens or they thought that they were gods, because they, you know, had abilities that the people who survived this cataclysmic event, and then like 1,000 years go by and they regress in their culture, they thought that these people were gods or aliens, and that's how they described them, because that would have been the only way they could have described them. Right? So those are my two competing thought processes on. And I think there's enough circumstantial evidence to go either way right now. Right now, you can go either way. Because there are certain things that lend to either side. You know, like have anybody heard of the Black Knight satellite? You got the same theory? There's a tribe in Africa that knew about Sirius and Sirius B. Yeah, that's the Dogon. The Dogon knew about Sirius A and Sirius B a good 500-600 years before anybody else. I mean, before Western science. So the Black Knight satellite. So some people, man said, which one? I heard that, and the Black Cube. Yep. All right. So, of course, NASA is trying to say that the Black Knight satellite is nothing more than some foil, some cover, a sheet that, you know, is space junk. But if you have a shortwave radios, if you have a shortwave radio, you can pick up a signal from the Black Knight satellite. So it can't just be some space debris, because people are picking up a signal from it. But it also says that it's sending a signal to the Pleiades, and the point that it's sending the signal, there are other scientists who said that it looks like a cloaked civilization, because it bows light and it bows sound, but it bows light and not sound, but it bows light, and it's a dark spot. It's just a dark spot. And they said it looks like a cloaked civilization. It's kind of hard to ignore. And I looked and I searched for intelligent people who can debunk it, because that's one of my first things that I do. Right? I said, oh, Black Knight satellite. Oh, it says that it's doing this. They're getting signals from it. That signal is pointing to the Pleiades. It's pointing at this area that looks like it's cloaked. So let me find somebody who's saying that this is some bullshit. Let me find a bunch of, and I look for credible people, who, not just somebody say it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. It's nothing more than a sheep. No, who got some kind of scientific evidence of that. one guy whose videos, and I told you guys I like the way he does his videos, but he'll sucker you in a little bit, having you thinking that, oh, look, here's a theory, here's something that happened, but then he'll tell you the information that he found to debunk what the general masses agree with. And that's a gentleman, he makes some videos called the Why Files. And the good thing about the Why Files is that he'll tell you, he digs deep into telling you where the information is coming from. No, why, not the Why Files, WHY. He's on YouTube. I don't know if he's anywhere else, but he's a good source. And then I go and I research his sources, right? I go and research his sources, and I have yet to research any of his sources and come back away from it saying that he's full of shit, you know. I notice when mainstream science explains an issue, you jump on something else. Got to give me an example, man. Gotta give me an example. And I look at both sides of every issue, mainstream science has often proven to be incorrect. Mainstream science said that shit, it just fell out my head. Oh, mainstream science said that continental drift was false, that it didn't, that was fake, that wasn't real. And then it was proven to be real. Mainstream science once said that, and religion, that the earth and the moon, that the sun circles the earth, that we were the center of the universe. And they were wrong. Evolution, there are aspects of, I'm more apt to go with adaptation than evolution. I know there's a thin line between the two. You know, everything on the planet coming from a single cell organism, not so much. How everything came to be about on the planet, I don't know. Single cell organism, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, and humans having a common ancestor? Possibly. Science is correct about better science. I can agree with that. I just have to see the better science. But we're talking about just this ain't really about too much about science. I mean, there's some science in this, but it's mostly about what the people talked about and what they either were experiencing or they believed or were told, right? Right. Time does change us. I saw some ancient skulls when I was over in the Middle East and they didn't have that was the first thing I noticed. They didn't have a canine tooth. And I was like, why they ain't got no canine tooth? And I realized that's when I first started thinking about adaptation. Like at some point in time, the majority of humans were vegetarians, right? But then we developed this tooth on both sides, underneath and the bottom, in order to tear meat. But we didn't have, you know, 100,000 years ago, we didn't have that, you know, or longer. Actually, those are older than that, but we didn't have those. So adaptation. Billy Carson, he makes good videos. He made a good video on the Black Knight satellite. I have to go look at that. Yeah, the Why Files. Yeah, it's all been debunked, but the goalpost keeps being moved. What's been debunked? I can't go with general statements because I wouldn't know how to respond to it. But I do think there is some validity to a more advanced group of people that restarted our civilization and our current civilization. All the stuff that happened before, I don't know. But we can prove scientifically the Younger Dryas happened about 15,000 years ago. And at the end of it, it rose sea levels about 400 feet, and many, if not pretty much every coastal civilization was destroyed, and that even some of the inland civilization were destroyed because of when you have something like that happening. According to weather science, you're not just going to get a rising of the sea level and flooding, but it's also going to mess with the upper atmosphere, and you'll have these massive storms that happen as well. How can we use monkey organs to stay alive if we didn't evolve from their family tree? I've never actually heard of them using monkey organs to stay alive. That would be something new for me. Like I said, I do think that there may have been a cousin, a common ancestry between the monkey, what is it? It's monkeys, apes, chimpanzees, humans, and it's one other. There's one other in that line. I can't think of what the other one is. Yeah, we were eating fruits and vegetables. But the question is, what caused the split from each one? Yeah. And I've heard that one, pigs. We have, just as we have a 99% similarity to gorillas, we have a 99% similarity to pigs, or 98% similarity to pigs as well. So is it a common ancestry, or is it just because we're all carbon-based earth entities, there are ways to share? Hey man, are we taking my ladder? Hey, how you doing? I don't know what you're saying because you don't say hi. Hey, have a great day. Okay. You could. I never claimed to be a scholar at anything, Paul. I just know what I read and I know what I research. And to say that real scholars don't make YouTube videos, you'd be very, very much incorrect. Because a lot of the scholars that I do research and listen to are on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and you can find scholars who teach at some colleges. You can find them who are doing interviews on different channels. And yeah, so no, sir. You can find scholars on YouTube because they realize that it is a great way to, oh, not me, but still, Paul, real scholars are on YouTube, bro. You can find them. Everybody is digital. We're social media world today. We're a social media world. You can find them. But if I went too far on the first part, I thought you were talking about me. So my apologies. I don't mind being corrected, and I will apologize when I'm wrong. We came from the same source. The levels of consciousness of what categorized us. That's my truth. I don't know if we all come from the same source. There are certain things, there are certain markers in our genes. What was it that I was researching a couple weeks ago, where they were talking about it appears that something happened in generations, that the telomeres on our cells were decreased at a certain point, right? And because our bodies were actually, we used to live longer, but something artificial decreased the telomeres on each cell. If you don't know what telomeres are these little caps on the top of your cell, on the top and bottom of each cell of your body. When these telomeres, every time the cell replicates, which is how you heal and how you stay alive, once the replication is over, you start to die, and that's old age. The body withers, and that's how you go into old age, because your telomeres have decreased and your cells don't reproduce, don't replicate themselves as quickly or as often until it stops doing it completely. If the telomeres used to be that big, well, I can't get it into YouTube, TikTok, right? It used to be that big. Now the telomeres have decreased to like that much, So the telomeres have decreased tremendously from that much. But they say these scientists have said that it's artificial, it was artificially done, right? I did hear Billy Carson say something about a worship gene being added to our genome. I didn't research it after he said, I didn't research it after I heard him say that, but I heard him say that one. So I can't really speak on that one. That's just what he was saying, but I don't really know. I don't really know about that one, and that it can be turned on and off. If I have a worship gene, it was turned off for a long time ago. You think it was one from one of those Anunnaki stories? Yeah, I mean, but it's not just the Anunnaki story that says that the telomeres were decreased. When you look at said Billy Carson is a quack. I like Billy Carson. Everybody got some good information that you can pull from, or they can lead you in a direction to find out some new stuff if you go research the information after they say what they say. And that's the thing. I always encourage people to go research everything that I talk about. Go research it. Don't just listen to me. But in the Yoruba story, there is a teaching that at some point, Otomares, he put something in the water to dumb down humans and to shorten our lifespans. The Aztec and Mayan story says that Quetzalcoatl sprayed something in the air to decrease our consciousness and shorten our lifetime. So you got stories of cultures from long ago saying that whoever they call their deity either put something in the water or spray something in the air to decrease our consciousness as well as shorten our lives. Now, I know some people are going to hear that and they're going to start thinking about chemtrails that they spray, that chemtrails in the sky right now, and they're going to talk about fluoride in the water, right? Now, because I'm unsure about fluoride, I don't use fluoride. I mean, I've seen pineal glands that have been calcified, and I've seen pineal glands that I've seen some that just have scar tissue on them, and it still looks pretty much the same like a calcified pineal gland. Did the Germans put fluoride water in the water of the people in concentration camps? According to World War II records, they did. Did America start doing it right after they came back from World War II? Yes, they did. Did they pay off the dentist to say that you need fluoride? They did. So there's some circumstantial evidence. There's enough circumstantial evidence for me that I don't mess with fluoride. And fluoride is a toxin. So why do we have it? And I understand certain toxins at lower levels, they don't damage you, but I gotta know. We are influenced by things all day, every day. This is why marketing works so well. It sends subliminal messaging and we act without knowing it. Oh, definitely. One of the best movies, and y'all know I'm a movie fool. I love movies. One of the best movies that shows that it's a cheesy ass movie. It had Roddy Piper was the star of the movie. I think it's called They Walk Among Us or something like that, where he would put on these shades and he can see that the billboards actually said something else, and he could see the aliens when he had the shades on. Oh, They Live. Thank you, Lance. They Live. Right. What I do know is the government had to outlaw movie theaters and movies from implanting subliminal messaging for you to go buy popcorn and hot dogs and stuff like that at the movies, because they had incorporated subliminal messaging into the theatric trailers, the commercials, and the movie itself. And so they had to stop them from doing it. So I know that movie theaters, that was something legally that the government had to impose on movie theaters and production studios. So does subliminal messaging exist? Does it work? Yeah. Definitely. I mean, think about it. Marketing and messaging has America and the world, for that instance, but let's just use America, separated based on skin color. Based on skin color. I think it's the dumbest goddamn thing in the world that we separate. One of the dumbest things is we separate ourselves based on skin color. I could halfway understand how we separate ourselves based on nationalism, because nationalism is based on a shared culture that you want to keep, and you will have people who are opposite of that or different from that, and you get into wars and battles and fights over how you think the world should live. But skin color is ignorant. Whether it's coming from a black person, a white person, an Asian person, or any person, skin color is dumb. Yet the majority of the world will agree that we come from, that everybody, that the whole human population comes from highly melanated people. So if everybody comes from the same source of highly melanated people, why in the hell are we fighting over skin color? Because somebody convinced somebody that your skin color is a determining factor on whether or not you are a conscious spiritual being or a conscious being, on whether or not you have a soul or not have a soul, or if you're more like animals or you're more, you're man or you're not man. I got just as many black people who tell me that white people aren't human as many as white people who say that black people aren't human. Everybody wants to be human and say the other one is not. And I say that, I tell them that, what's your name, brother AB? I say we all animals. we all animals. We're all mammals. If a lion and a tiger get together, they can have a baby, right? Because they're the same species. If a lion and an elephant get together, they're not gonna have a baby because they are different species, right? If a black person and a white person get together, they can have a baby because the same species. But if a human and a gorilla get together, they're not gonna have a baby, right? So we must all be the same species that we can reproduce with one another. That is an ultimate scientific test for same species as any other one. Yesterday you disagree with integration. No, yeah, I do. I still disagree with integration. Don't get me wrong. Although I don't believe in race, I recognize that we live in societies that the overwhelming majority of people do. And the overwhelming majority of people have based the culture of America on race. So that being said, since we live in a culture of racism and separation by race, in order for us to gain equality, you have to fight within that system. It's kind of like the guy in the lounge yesterday was saying he's a Republican. He's a black guy. He's a Republican. And he says that he tells black people all the time, if you want to change the Republican Party, you're never going to do it by being a Democrat. The only way you can change the Republican Party is by being a Republican, right? So the only way I realize that the only way we can have equality in a country like America is if we have to play by the rules of the chessboard we're playing on. And that chessboard says that you got to have unity and money. Integration took away our unity and it took away our money. And look at where we are now. We would be in a much better place if we had committed ourselves to maintaining our neighborhoods and just building our neighborhoods and our communities. And yes, I'm saying "are" because we are separated by this fictional thing called race. But me as a person, individually, there is no such thing as race. So that's why I disagree with integration, but I'm saying we are the same. But the consciousness of this world hasn't gotten there yet. That's why if there are Anunnakis out there, if there are some aliens out there and they just watching us, then they like, y'all are too damn immature. You fight each other over pigmentation And then, like I said earlier, you're pointing weapons of mass destruction at each other that if you launch them, everybody dies. No. It's not like it's a gunfight where if you and I was standing there, I always think this is stupid in movies. The two people come up and they point the guns at each other, right? And then they stand there and talk. In the military, we don't do that. If I'm pointing my gun, I'm shooting you. Why am I going to sit there and talk and give you the opportunity to shoot me first? Because guess what? The first person shoots usually wins. You know, but nuclear proliferation is a situation where if the first person shoot, the other people got plenty of time to shoot you back. If I'm standing in front of you with a gun, you stand in front of me with a gun, I shoot you, you more than likely ain't got time to shoot me. Because when you catch that bullet to the noggin, you done. You done. But nuclear weapons is stupid because if America launches, Russia and China got plenty of time to launch back. So if there are some intergalactic beings out there, they're looking at us saying, y'all are too immature. Y'all are like children. Y'all like infants. Because your consciousness hasn't grown to the point where you recognize you're on a shared planet and you're willing to destroy it because you want to be capitalist and you want to be communist. It's just instead of saying, if you want to be communist, be communist. If you want to be capitalist, be capitalist. Just don't force anybody else to do it. Just like if you want to worship Jesus, worship Jesus. If you want to worship Allah, worship Allah. Just don't force anybody else to do it. If you're sitting over here saying that person cannot be as smart as you are or can't help you or deal with you because of the skin pigmentation. Or this person can't have this job because this one is a woman and this one is a man. Stupid. We live in a very immature society. Incredibly immature. And even if the aliens came down and they were negative and we all banded together to fight them, after we finished fighting them, we would go back to our separation. We'd go back to fighting each other. That's how immature we are today, right? That's how immature we are. So, to me, as far as the Anunnaki are concerned, if they exist, well, one, according to the story, they were just as effed up as we were. We are. In some of the original versions, they were good to go for a while, but then they, messed up and started devolving in their morality and then became just as bad as we are. Right? So either way, if they are up there, they ain't all that great. Like there's a guy on my YouTube, and oftentimes when I talk about the Anunnaki, he's gonna post, because he's never on the live, he's always later on. He'll post, all hail Lord Inky. I'm like, Inky, although one of the best described persons as far as the Anunnaki, it was still messed up. Still a messed up individual, Well, what's worse than that is how good you look. Yeah, like all mythologies, they all jacked up. But that how good you look thing, have you ever seen the study that they did where they showed a person, like a woman she's over on the side of the road, she's not that attractive and hardly anybody pulls over to help her out, but then they put a good looking woman out there on the side of the road, and then everybody pulls over, all these men start pulling over to help her out. That's how jacked up we are. We will be more pleasant to somebody that we think look good than we will be to somebody who doesn't. Social media proves that. If I was a woman if I was a woman on here and I was fine as hell and good looking, I would have way more followers and way more views on every video I make. It's this white woman. I think she's British. I don't know her name, but she makes some pretty good videos, right? But I saw this other white woman who doesn't look as good as her. Her videos are on the same subject matter, but better. The good-looking white woman has about 10 times more followers and views than the other woman who actually makes better quality videos. We will do that over and over again. A good-looking black woman if a good-looking black woman is talking about the same thing that I'm talking about, way more views. Actually, there's a black woman. She talks about witchcraft all the time. Ah, shit, what's her name? Aisha, Ashia, something like that. Light-skinned black woman. She looked good. Especially she not lost a lot of weight now. So now she's fine too. And my kind of fine. I know some dudes like you like what you like. You like thick ones, you like thick ones. You like small ones, you like small ones. But she's lost a lot of weight and she got herself, but she's always presented herself good looking woman. I saw another woman, and this is a bad messed up thing on black people. Another woman who actually has better information, but she's dark skinned. And she does, and her eyes are a little bit further wider apart, so she looks a little crazy. It looks a little off. She doesn't get she gets way less views than the other girl. And I know that part of the reason is how she looks. Right? How she looks. Debbie says she doesn't think they exist. You don't think the Anunnaki exist. I think honestly, I lean more to the Anunnaki being previous intelligent, technologically advanced civilizations that were earthbound. Right? Yeah, colorism is the worst thing. I suffered through a lot of colorism growing up. Ashira, yeah, that's her name, Ashira. But I suffered through a lot of colorism growing up because growing up in the South and being this skin pigmentation, one of the things I used to hate. Oh, you look good for a dark skinned man. I loved when I got to the 11th grade. That's when I started cussing everybody out who said stupid stuff like that to me. My 11th grade, yeah, I started. Me and my boy Russell, we ran around and we cussed out all them girls and guys who had picked on us about being dark skinned. But anyway, back to off subject a little bit. I am more, like I said, I am more inclined to think that there were civilizations that were more advanced because the Earth has demonstrated that it has been through multiple cataclysmic events, whether it be ice ages, whether it is a pole shift or meteor strikes. It's been through some stuff. And some of these events, if like right now, if what is that, Yosemite? Is it Yosemite? No, Yellowstone. If the caldera at Yellowstone were to fully erupt, not a bullshit half-ass erupt, I'm talking about a full eruption. And that eruption could cause the caldera. I know everybody know about Mount Vesuvius, but did you know that below Mount Vesuvius, there's an even larger underwater caldera that's like 10 times bigger than Vesuvius? I think that if Yellowstone erupts, it could cause that one to erupt. If both those volcanoes erupt, life on this planet is done. I'm talking done. I'm talking cloud covering the entire world, the entire planet for 1,000+ years. And if 1,000+ years goes by, no life, very few life will be able to survive through that time frame, be able to adapt to it. If there's any human life that has survived through it, by the time it comes out, it's going to be prehistoric. You're going to be, hunter-gatherer, mud bricks and thatches and all that kind of stuff, because everything else known in society is gone. And then it'll be covered up. And then 10,000 years later, somebody will be digging and they'll find the building that I'm in now, right? Why in the black community don't we ever have mainstream scientists, doctors, and educators with mainstream views? We're always the worst informed. No, I wouldn't say that. It depends on where you search. For instance, it's a mainstream view that the transatlantic slave trade happened, right? And the other side of that is people always saying, well, where are the ships? Where are the ships? Where are the ships? Where are the ships? Well, there were black archaeologists off the coast of Africa, West Africa, that found sunken slave ships. And they were black. But you also got to understand, Paul, STEM's education has not been, that's relatively new for us. You know, we in the 60s, we didn't have as many scientists who would, one, we didn't have as many, two, were they afforded the opportunities. When I was growing up, when I was in high school and I went to career day in my 11th and 12th grade year, I went to go see the archaeologist. I wanted to be an archaeologist. But the one guy, the black guy archaeologist who came in there, he made archaeology seem like the worst thing in creation, because he was explaining to me how racist archaeology is. That as a black man, getting funded to go do a dig was nigh impossible. That the best jobs he could get was sitting at the bottom of museums or teaching. And of course, if he's teaching, he got to teach whatever they say he got to teach. But him going out to be and discover shit, he said he couldn't get money, couldn't get the backing because he was black. So it steered me away from being an archaeologist. Because at that time frame in my life, I was already fighting all the Christian rhetoric. I didn't want to go and fight in the job that I had. I was fighting a two-front war. You know, so, and I'm only 51. It is only like this 20-something-year-old generation, the ones who are 20 and below, they are the ones that are living in a world where things can be done where we would have more mainstream scientists coming out of that generation than any previous generation. So you just got to be patient on that one. That's just the jacked up ass world that we lived in. Great Days. Yellowstone is actually categorized as a mega volcano. Yeah. Like I'm telling y'all right now, that's one reason why I'm leaving America. Because you think you're safe on the East Coast. But if Yellowstone blow up, Atlanta ain't going to die immediately. But when that cloud get here, it's over. All the vegetation going to die. Then all the animals going to die. Then all y'all going to die. And the water going to be polluted. So hell no. You got to get over. Got to go somewhere else. If the one in Italy blows up, then Europe and North Africa and the first part of Asia, it's jacked up. It's jacked up. Rock Coach, I went through the same thing up until the 9th grade for me. I realized that I was and am as fine as the lighter complexion women. Exactly, Great Days. I don't know what you look like, but you sure are. You fine. You're beautiful. Does anyone know about the UFOs that have shut down missiles? I mean, shot down missiles many times. They just deactivate it from. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard where they've been able to shut down missile silos. That is something that's said. Atlanta has a CDC. If they want to experiment on black people, they could. You know, I tried to get a job at the CDC when I got the Marine Corps. That was like that was the only government job that I wanted to have when I got out. One of the reasons because they have a hell of a high bunker at the CDC. And this shit blow up, I'm gonna survive. Something is strange about expecting us to align with mainstream views. The mainstream is our opponent, and I would agree to that. Oftentimes, I will align with mainstream of something if it's provable, but when it's theory, then accept it. And there's nothing wrong with going against mainstream. Is how we advance. That's how we advance. So let's say we were able to. I honestly know that some of the Anunnaki storyline, some of the weaponry that they talked about, is how we developed some. We reverse engineered and developed some of our weaponry. For instance, a sonic cannon. According to the Emerald Tablets, when Thoth landed in Kemet, and as he called them, the hairy barbarians came at him with spears and bow and arrows, he pointed his staff at them and emitted a frequency, a wave that froze the people in their steps. That has been created. We have created sonic weapons that will do that to you. We've created low-grade ones that would just make you, and it said that when he did it, it made them stand still and they vomited and it fell to the ground, that sort of thing. I have seen, well, let me rephrase. I saw a sonic cannon back in the 90s being used by the military. Police forces didn't start getting sonic cannon or have the availability to get a sonic cannon until like the last 10 years or so. So that's a technology that was re-engineered or reimagined because of a story that they probably heard from the Emerald Tablets, right? And they introduced the sonic cannon to everybody in the first time I saw was in the Hulk movie. The first time I saw it like mainstream was in the second Hulk movie, and they hit him with that sonic cannon, but then he tore it up. And I always look at movies. It was fun for me to watch movies in the 2000s and up until now because they'll show y'all a technology that I saw in the 90s. And I was like, ah, shit, we already had that in the 90s. Like rail guns that they showed in Transformer and on the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I was like, I saw that shit in the 90s. That ain't new technology. That's something that we had in the 90s. So there is something to them looking at these stories and developing technologies based on these stories, right? Now, are they reverse engineering it simply from the stories, or did an alien ship crash in Roswell, New Mexico, and some of these other places that they claim alien ships crashed? Did they find, when they went to Mars and went to the moon, did they find alien civilizations, or did they not? You know, and then reverse engineer that technology. There are said to be domes on the moon of alien technology, as well as on Mars. There are alien technology. I don't know. I ain't been there. Some of the pictures, when you strip away the Photoshops of them, yeah, I see how people can go that route. But going against mainstream is how we advance. If we stick with mainstream, we stay stuck. We don't advance. You got to question it. Most of us walked away from religion because we question religion. So why wouldn't we question mainstream information, period? They have something that can look through your house. I'm neither confirming nor denying. I know they listen to your phone. I know that your television has a camera that looks directly at you, even when it's off. Mainstream just means what the majority of people just agree on, which often proves itself to be wrong. Would surviving being desirable if the world was destroyed? Surviving would be hell. Okay, I'm a weird kind of person, just to let you know. One, I believe if the world blew up, I'm going to survive. There is something in me that says that I will survive. And then I have a desire to survive. I want to survive. I kind of dig the whole Mad Max, Fury Road, Thunderdome kind of apocalyptic world. There's something appealing about being part of the restart for me. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Every time I tell people that, they look at me like I'm crazy. You know, I don't know. God is the creator. Why would he stop here or be confined to a particular religion? I don't believe that the creator is confined to a particular region. Once you put the creator in a religion, you is no longer the creator. But I do believe that there's an intelligent mind that designed everything. But does it Geppetto and play around and do all this bullshit that religions claim? Hell no. And my estimation, my acceptance of that is based on natural forces, natural law. It has nothing to do with anybody's book or anything like that. Even though the Kabbalion is probably one of the best books that that describes it in the way that I think, which is why on Thursdays we are going through the Kabbalion. So if you want to continue the journey going through the Kabbalion with us, that's on tomorrow. Yes, for riots and cargo ships from pirates, I've seen the term used. You might kind of lead the you kind of might lead the recreation. Oh, the recreation. Sorry. Yeah, I think. Look, maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's egotism. I don't know. But I think that I can design a better society than any society that we have on the planet right now. I can have better laws and better system, and we will all live in fairness if I was in charge. These jokers in these people, the people at this cigar lounge, at my cigar lounge, always pick on me because I always tell them I just need to be the dictator of the planet for about 40 years. I need to be a dictator for a generation. 10 o'clock tomorrow. I need to be the dictator for a generation, and I will change the scope of the planet. We will all share in the resources, and we will all, everything will be fair. You'll have every school will teach the same things and give everybody the same ability. If you have a student who's more attuned towards science and they're doing better, then we're going to move them into that. They'll have the opportunity to go in that direction if that's their choice, but it'll be their choice. And I'm not talking about communism or socialism. You'll still be able to be a capitalist, but you won't be able to be an unfair capitalist and take advantage of people and hoard resources and monopolize things. So I think that I would do a better job than everybody who's running this planet right now. I just need to be the dictator for about 40 years and everybody be happy and we'd be good to go. I would change that slavery prison. I would change the way the whole prison industrial complex. I would change it. One, it wouldn't be private. Privatizing it just opened the door for corruption. You wouldn't be able to privatize it, and it would be a system that people can rehabilitate themselves, and you are not punished once you come out. Like prisoners are punished the second time when they come out because they're limited on the things that they can do. If you had a felony. Okay, I've never understood this. If you were in America and you committed a felony, you can't, or it's very difficult for you to get a passport. So they don't want you to be able to leave the country, even though you violated the country. But while you're here, that felony, if you got a felony, you can't start a business, and most companies won't hire you because you have that felony. But you can't leave and go restart your life and try to have a better life. I've never understood that. Why are we double punishing somebody? If it's supposed to be about rehabilitation, it's not. So my prison system would be completely different. And if you want to leave, some of the best ways to restart your life is to pick your shit up, leave where you are, and go be somewhere else. Because when you go somewhere else, you can be whoever you choose to be. I've had clients that they were struggling in Atlanta. And one of the struggles was because everybody in Atlanta was holding them to be the same person that they are right now. But they wanted to change. So they moved to Miami, they moved to California, they moved to a different country. And once they got to that other country, they were able to be whoever they choose to be because the people weren't trying to hold them down. So why are we doing that to prisoners? We're holding them accountable twice to whatever transgression they had, and yet they are supposed to have paid for that transgression. Dang, somebody pulled up. I hope it's not somebody. I got to stop talking. This is a woman. It is that time frame for the high school that's near me. They do this graduation thing where they all smoke cigars. So hold on for a second. Hello. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay, I need 2 cigars, a cutter, and a torch.
2 cigars, a cutter, and a torch.
Okay.
Do you know what type of cigar?
I want very mild.
Very mild. Is this for party?
It is. Has everybody been up here?
No, but I realized today that it's not starting today.
Yeah.
But it's still starting. These are very mild.
Okay.
And they're a short robusto, so it's not a long cigar.
Okay.
All right. And did you come last year?
I did.
Okay. So don't inhale.
Okay. Yeah. Just walk me through this because one of them threw up, and so.
Okay.
All right. So because I'm trying to decide about if I like the look of that or if I want doing something longer and just do more for the pictures.
Oh.
And so.
You want something longer than these?
Well, I'm just asking. I said pictures like I see them.
These two would be great for me.
What is the cost difference in that? They're the same way.
Yeah.
I think this is one because I think my camera, I'm not going to get a picture of this camera. But what's the difference in the taste? And what do I
That
tell
one tastes better.
Okay, let's get this one and do the cutter and the thing. But then tell me the steps.
Okay,
So I don't have vomit in my pictures.
So they vomited. Did they eat?
Huh?
Did they eat before?
They did, but they said that they felt like they swallowed all the smoke. Like they both.
Okay.
They said that they inhaled and they were like. They said they felt like they ate it, like they.
Because they swallowed it.
Yeah, and so because.
Yeah. So.
Because so just give me some simple coaching tips.
So because most people have watched movies.
Yes.
So they want to inhale and hold it in their mouth.
Yes.
And blow it out. They're new at this, so they don't want to do that at all. They just want to. That's it.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do it.
Yeah. Unless they really want to learn how to really taste cigars.
Yeah, I think this is for celebration.
Yeah, this is just celebration. So
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Just
That's it. That's all they need to do.
Okay. All right. Yes.
And just something to eat that sticks to your ribs. You know, wheat bread.
Yeah, I'm about to go to the store because I was like, I just know that then before they got open, they're sitting there for hours.
Right. And then if they smoke a cigar after not eating, that's not good.
Okay.
They need to have some food in their system because the cigar burns the sugar in your blood.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel queasy.
Yeah.
Once you feel queasy, your stomach tightens up.
Yes. That about sums it up.
And then if you inhale the smoke, that goes into their stomach as well as their lungs. And then.
So it's going to be part U, part 2 this time.
Yes.
Part U, part 2. No vomiting.
So we don't want that part. But yeah. As soon as you pulled up, I was like, it's time for a park view.
It is. It's time
for graduation.
Because graduation is tonight. And they, it'll be.
Oh, graduation's tonight.
So I
will probably see people a lot today.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize that you opened it at 12. But yeah, you should, because graduation practice ended at like 10:45.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, they are scrambling because they did not give the graduates the invitations until after rehearsal was over.
Today?
Yeah, so they've just got them in their hand at 10:45. And people who come to graduation have to have a ticket.
Right.
So right now, they're all really, thank you, driving around, dropping tickets off with relatives. Otherwise, everybody's going to have to come to your house and get a ticket.
Oh.
Like logistically,
that's a logistic nightmare.
Yeah. And so mine is out driving to his grandma's house, spinning the loop, and then backtracking the road to the other side of town to drop it off. That way that we can be at the stadium holding the seat.
Right, gotcha. And remember your receipt's gonna say Uncle Renz.
Yep, I got you.
All right.
Thank you for the coaching.
So, yeah, feed them, don't inhale.
Don't inhale.
There you go.
I got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for being patient. Today is a big day because Parkview, this high school, they have a tradition where the seniors smoke cigars on the football field after graduation tonight. I know this channel is about something else, but Angie, I need you to go on to Lilburn Local and post, get your graduation cigars at Smoking Phoenix. So I know you heard that, Angie. Get your graduation cigars at Smoking Phoenix. Post that on Lilburn Local for me. I greatly appreciate it. Or I got my graduation cigars at Smoking Phoenix, and give the address. I'll be near Atlanta next month for training conducting course for 3 weeks. All right, Slaughter. That means you got to come by. It means you got to come by. Let's see. What did I miss? Yes, I'm going to survive. I'm going to restart the world. What time tomorrow? Every day is supposed to be right around 10 o'clock, but like today I had to go pick up cigars. And one of the reasons why I made sure I went and pick up cigars because I was like, this graduation is happening sometime this week. So I need to go and get some more cigars. I often wonder if recreation is recreation. I can get down with that. I do understand the swept under the rug reference, but the story is out there. People just don't pay attention to the main point. And it's not talked about. Let me tell you, the thing about people, people are easily distracted. All right? Easily distracted. Easy to distract people. most people are going. The reason why I can do a video, and this is and why one of the reasons why I always say go back and research, is because I know that the majority of people are not going to go and research anything. This is one of the reasons why I don't give references, because I want to force you to go and research. If I give you a reference, then what most people will do is they'll listen to my video and they'll say, well, according to according to the Hague or Jet Propulsion Lab, or according to such and such and this person, they'll just repeat the reference but not go and actually look at the reference. You understand what I'm saying? Because most people are not going to go and do any research beyond what they hear. So if I don't give you a reference and you don't like what I say, or you want to validate it, you then have to go and research it. As far as I go is to tell you, if you were to, like, if you put in Anunnaki EDU, then what you'll most likely come up with is PhD papers, what different, because when you do research it like that, you're going to find things that's for it, you're going to find that's against it. There's always going to be some for and against. And when you have for and against, that way you can debate it. So we can be standing outside right now and we can look up at the sky. I can say the sky's purple, you can say the sky's blue. And we can argue about it, and we can find a reason and a rationale based on scientific documentation to say that nope, it's purple, no, it's blue. I mean, that might be a little extreme, but you know what I'm saying. I can probably convince myself that it's purple. You know, that the primary prism that we're looking through in the sky is really a reflection of purple and not blue. Because I figure out something. Give me some time and I can figure out some bullshit. But you can. Like I remember getting into a debate against a guy. He was saying that the reason why the sky is blue is because it's a reflection of the oceans. That's why he said the sky was blue. It's a reflection of the ocean, and all we're really seeing is a reflection of sunlight from the ocean. And he was able to pull up scientists who were saying this stuff, people who, you know, supposedly study stuff. And then, of course, there were tons of people who were just repeating what other people have said. Oh, because there's a firmament above the firmament and we exist in a dome, then the dome is like glass. And since the dome is like glass, it's going to show you a reflection. And so I was saying that, well, then there should be parts of the sky where you can see where there are gaps in the reflection. There should be a gap in the reflection where land masses exist. Where's that? Where's that reflection? Where's the reflection of America, of Africa? Where's the reflection of Asia? Where's the gaps of those reflections? Because there will be a gap if it's a reflection. So I was like, your dome firmament thing doesn't work. Doesn't work when you're saying, and when that's your justification of why the sky is blue. But I couldn't tell him otherwise. He was 100% fully holding on to the sky is blue because it's a reflection of the ocean. No. There's water molecules in the air. And really, the sky ain't blue, the sky black. Because once you go through all the water molecules, it's black. It's black. 4% dome reflection in rainbow. 42-degree dome reflection in the rainbow. Okay, I don't know how to respond to that. I can't respond to that one because I don't know what we're talking about. Where's the light reflection? Especially in Vegas. Well, the sunlight reflects through water molecules that's in the sky, that's in the air. You know, there's no such none of that space is empty space. There's no such thing as empty space. You know, and I guess the hole in the dome. What was it? And it supposedly got windows in the dome, because that's why God said He opened the windows of heaven, the portals of heaven. Actually, that word is not windows; it should be translated into portals. But that's neither here nor there right now. So I guess the ozone layer was that it was a crack in the glass. We had a crack in the glass, and the sun. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. Thank you. Got to get these people in here buying cigars for their children, their graduates. It's a tradition. Hey, my son got his first cigar when he was 16. I don't know. What does IMFAO mean? Your option. I know I've seen that before, but I don't remember what it means. What are you RN? Don't know what RN means. I don't speak I don't speak text that well. Oh, laughing my F and A off. Got it. Yeah. I don't speak text too well. I'm trying to learn Spanish right now, not text. Oh, where are you right now? I'm in the Metro Atlanta area, Stone Mountain to be exact. It's all in our eye design. Other mammals see different colors. That is very true. The design of our eyes does color is reflected in our eyes based on our eyes, because you're right. Other animals see different colors. That kind of freaked me out the first time. Well, it didn't freak me out, but the first time I saw that, I found that out. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't mind having one of those eyes where I can see something, see it in a different color. And then some see it in different spectrums, light spectrum. Well, that is, they're seeing different light spectrums. Right. Appreciate that. I love y'all too, man. But the eye is an amazing, I was just about to say that. The eyes are an amazing creation. Don't write in all caps though. But the eyes are amazing creation. Because of the way it allows us to see things and visualize things. But that third eye is even more amazing. Third eye is even more amazing because it allows you to be able to see things that are higher in a deeper level. Gotta love that one. But so who on here thinks the Anunnaki exists according to the Sumerian story? Who thinks that is just previous intelligent civilizations? I'm just curious as to where you guys' mindsets on those, because according to the Anunnaki story, they are the ones who played around with our. I know there are some people gonna think that the Bible is right, but problem with the biblical stories is that it is a duplication of especially Genesis is a duplication of the Atrahasis and the Enuma Elish. That's what I was trying to word out, the other one. I was trying to think of that one yesterday and I could not get it to save my life. But the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis, which was written before there was ever a Hebrew, Genesis story pretty much follows that. The Anunnaki is not what it seems. They exist. There exists isn't their story of one currently being in Afghanistan. They exist. Isn't there a story of one currently being in Afghanistan? I'm not sure. I haven't heard that one. Giants, stop writing in caps. Genesis 6, Satan is the head of man's religion. Yeah. We're going to do a video, not today, because that's all day, and it's already 12:22, and I don't know when the first person is going to walk in here that I have to stop doing this. Yeah, we're going to go through a whole thing of how Satan, the whole Satan thing, Satan, Lucifer, and the devil, and the serpent. Those are not all the same being. Those are different. Even in the Bible, those are different beings. I heard from a soldier who went offline and stated that it happened recently. Oh, you talking about the story about the soldier who said he saw a giant, I think, saw a giant in Afghanistan, and is claiming that to be an Anunnaki. I heard something about that a while ago, but I didn't go through it. Because it's harder to read and all. It's harder for me to read everything, and when it's in all caps, and then all caps is like shouting. That's why I don't prefer all caps. Yep, it's like shouting. So it's hard enough to get the tone of people. And as me and Paul went through earlier, I misinterpreted something that Paul said. It's hard enough to get the tone from writing. And you know, you can only write so much. That when it's in all caps, it's shouting. And I'm trying to get the tone so that I don't go left or right on somebody. How do you spell the document Enuma Elish? Man, I don't know how to spell it anymore. I use spell check. It'll correct it as I write it down, but it's two different words. No, is it two different words or one word? I think it's one word, but yours looks pretty close. But according to the stories in the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis, you have the situation where Enlil, Enki, Anu, and Harsag all get together in the Apsu, and they mess with the hominid's genome and create different variations of man until they get the one that is Homo sapien. Then they took Homo sapien, and when it got to a point where Ninharsag said that she would take the egg and she would carry the egg and the seed in her body that had its essence and had been tried over and over again, that she would carry it, and she carried it for 10 months, and she birthed out the first Homo sapien, and she named him Adamu. And when she birthed out Adamu, then they did it again, and they had another one, and her name is Titi. And then they took Adamu and Titi, and they placed them in the Garden of Eden in Chaldea for them to run the inner work, to run all the other clones pretty much that they had made. The problem with them is that they were able to reproduce. Enlil didn't want them to reproduce, but once they were able to reproduce, he said that if they can reproduce, they can overthrow us because they can become like us. So the tree of life was their ability to reproduce. So they were kicked out of Eden and had to fend for themselves, so to speak, but still be beholding to the Anunnaki royalty. And in doing that, you see how that sounds similar to your Genesis story. You know, God said, let us create man and woman, and let them be fruitful and multiply. But he put them in the Garden of Eden, and they was in this enclosure. And it actually doesn't say Garden of Eden. It says enclosure called Eden. And he put them in this enclosure, and they were supposed to manage things. And then as they were managing things, thank you, Teresa, for spelling Enuma Elish. As they were supposed to be managing things, God walked through the cool of the day. Anunnaki can't stand the heat. He saw that they had eaten from the tree of knowledge. He saw that that Titi was pregnant, kicked them out. Adamu and Titi had two children. Their first two children were named Cain and Abel in the Enuma Elish. Then in the Bible is Cain and Abel. So there's just similarities. There's the flood story is in both versions. You have in the Atrahasis, Utnapishtim is who is equal to Noah, who is the son. He's the son of Enki. Is told by Enki to take the seed of everything on the planet, build a boat, and you'll survive this deluge that only lasted for 6 days in their story. And that it was going to be this big flood because Enlil was humans were making too much noise. He was aggravating Enlil, so he wanted, kill them all. We know this deluge is coming, Younger Dryas period, and we're going to survive. We're going to tell, if you have enough Anunnaki blood, to go live up in the mountains or get on a boat. The Anunnaki royalty was going to get on some ships, and they were going to let most of the humans die off. So you have in the Levant area, it was the Enuma Elish, and it was Utnapishtim. In the biblical story, they changed it to Noah, and they gave it 40 days and 40 nights. But when you look at the Mayan story, the stories in the South Pacific, and the Peruvian stories actually, a group of people who were of higher status were told to go up into the mountains, right? And then we have in the Enuma Elish and Atrahasis, you got the story of Marduk was having a wedding because he was going to marry a human, and then he was having his wedding, and then this is a second incursion where the Igigi came down. They took 200 women from the wedding party, married them, started teaching them the science of the Anunnaki. In the Bible, it is the sons of God saw the daughters of men, saw they was beautiful, started getting with them, and start teaching them witchcraft, right? And then they have the Nephilim, the hybrids. But the same story is in the Enuma Elish, but it's just the Igigi getting down with humans, and they start having these giant kids because the Anunnakis are supposed to be like 30 feet tall, and they start having these 15-foot tall children. And they started teaching them Anunnaki technologies of, iron, metalworking, healing, all these different things, and that was seen as witchcraft. And so you got the same story. The similar enough story that you can see how if you are a Hebrew in the 1400 BCE or coming out of the Babylonian captivity, you will adopt your story, because the Genesis story is not created until after the Babylonian captivity. They adopted the Babylonian stories, which comes from the Assyrians, Akkadians, and Sumerians, which is the Enuma Elish. So that story, that's one reason why I ain't get down with the Bible story. The Bible story is So the fallen angels are just the Igigi. Why did they change it for the Bible? It was changed for the Bible to fit the Hebrew people. Just like the Babylonians made certain changes in this story. I think Enlil becomes Baal, or Marduk becomes Baal. One of them two became Baal, or Enki. Somebody became Baal out of Enki, Enlil, or Marduk. The previous Akkadians, it was the other name. They always change the name. Ilnana become Ishtar. They changed the name and changed some of the narrative to fit their culture. Just like people today change the Bible's meanings to fit their culture today instead of fitting the culture to when it was written. So everybody has a tendency to do that. We're going to change the narrative of history to fit how we feel today versus what they actually wrote. Mud fossil mountains are giant blood, plasma, DNA, organs, etc. I'm not so sure about all that. If I'm understanding what you're saying, because I've heard people say, if you're talking about how some of the mountains are actually the remains of giants, you dig into the mountain, you get rock, then you get fossils, but you're not getting giant fossils. And I don't know. They say that the Smithsonian, like there was this whole thing about, the Smithsonian is hiding this information about giants, but nobody can actually prove that. Nobody's proven that. It's a thing that's been going around and around and around. Now the whole thing, they found Egyptian hieroglyphs in the Grand Canyon. The guy who said that it was published in an Arizona magazine, and it's been like the guy could never prove that he saw anything. It was just public. It was almost like it was in a tabloid, And yes, a lot of the photos are proven to be fakes. There's so many things that's hoaxes. There's like people whose purpose is to do hoaxes. We all knew that the tabloid magazine was pure fun and imagination. We knew it, but a lot of these things are just straight up fake. How can you prove that he saw something? That's what I'm saying. You can't. And he never proved that he saw it. He didn't have any pictures. He didn't, or nothing. He couldn't find his way back. I think his wife tried to go back there, but he couldn't prove anything. If I were to start digging in my backyard and I find some Egyptian tablets or something like that, which would prove that Egyptians came to the Americas, you best damn believe I'm about to take photos. I'm going to shoot the video. I'm doing all that. And when that dude who claimed that he saw hieroglyphs in the, what's that place again? In the Grand Canyon, he ain't taking any pictures of it. Come on now. He going to go to a magazine. He going to go to a newspaper before he take pictures of it. Come on now, y'all. That's an epic discovery. That's an epic discovery. I mean, you discover something like that, you're famous. Shit, you touring the world. So Yeah. Let me discover something. First thing I'm going to do is record it, because I know as soon as I find it, somebody's going to try to debunk it. So I'm going to record this thing right now. Right now. Project Bluebeam and all of that, because I heard way ahead of time artifacts will be resurfaced. I haven't researched Project Bluebeam in a long time, so I can't really get it in my head. What is Project Bluebeam? Just give me a little bit. The way my mind works, if everything is like a spark plug, if I get the spark, the rest of it comes back. But I know I've heard of Project Bluebeam. I know I've researched Project Bluebeam, but I cannot think for my life what it is. Yeah, there are tons of lies. Project Paperclip. Paperclip, that was that the German scientists that they are brought over here so they can do the atomic bombs and all that kind of stuff, I think. Oh, we got jokes. With the Carpe Diem, we got some jokes. Is that they will be using holograms in the sky based on each religion to create new world order. There's more to it than just that. More to what than just that. But creating holograms in the sky, hey, you saw it. What was that Super Bowl when they had Michael Jackson? They had Tupac. I'm waiting on the hologram. I'm waiting on that glove, that hand, that foam glove that just, you do like that and you got a hologram right there. No, I don't think we're too far away from holographic technology being a norm. But even if you projected Jesus in the sky right now, people ain't gonna. You're gonna have some people that's gonna believe it, some people ain't gonna believe it. Yeah, you're gonna have people believing in it, some people not. I'm not. Look, you can project Jesus in the sky all you want. You're gonna have to come talk to me, bro. You got Jesus. It'd be like Lucy. Jesus, you got some. Jesus, you got some splaining to do. I don't care who they project in the sky. You're gonna have some splaining. It could be Krishna. Krishna, you got some splaining to do. Because you full of shit too. I ain't going for it. This is a really good cigar. I only have a limited number of them. The Year of the Rabbit is really good. Yeah, because there's no way you're going to be able to just project something in the sky. And then, I know scientifically you can make things seem like something that is really not. But no. Do I think Jesus had offspring? Not the Jesus of the Bible. No. According to the Gnostic version, him and Mary Magdalene, that was his wife. She had a baby. She got pregnant. Now, I believe that the Europeans made up the story of the whole, she came to France and, Charlemagne is a descendant of it all and that sort of thing. I think most of the Dark Age, what they call the Middle Age information with Charlemagne and all these people, I don't think those people existed either. I think that was made up in order to create for themselves a history. But I don't think that that Jesus never existed. The biblical Jesus never existed. You have 4 different Yahshuas who did exist during that time frame, who did oppose the Pharisees and Sadducees, who did oppose Rome, but not one of them did everything. And not one of them performed all them damn miracles. They were just rebels. And understand, Yahshua was a very popular name back then. It's like, did John Smith exist? There's a whole bunch of damn John Smiths, right? But as far as this Jesus of the Bible with the miracles, Son of God, and dying for your sins on the cross and all that kind of stuff, and no, did not have any children, because you can't have children from a fictitious character. So, But the Romans did a really good job of creating this character, and then it got out of hand for even the Romans. Once people start believing it and worshiping it, others took hold of it and created an even deeper religion around it. Originally, the story was about Vespasian and Titus, but 100 years later, it's changed to this actual dude who walked around. The Bible is pro-Roman. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar. You are born under whatever country you're born under. You are to respect those laws. Whoever is the leader of that country, you should pray for them and not speak ill against them. The Bible is very much pro-Roman. You say zeitgeist is debunked. There are certain aspects of zeitgeist that is incorrect, but then there are aspects of it that is very much correct. And you understand the Bible is a whole lot of different editions all over from different people from different time frames. What do I think about Islam? I think it's just as fake as any other religion. I don't know as much about Islam because I didn't grow up Islamic and I never took the time to truly study Islam. There were a few things right off the bat that I was like, nope. One is an Abrahamic religion based on Hagar and Ishmael being out there and saved by an angel, and then having the whole the oasis and making their money off the oasis and all this kind of stuff. You know, a woman and her little bitty son, they'd have had their ass killed by people to take that oasis from them. But then Muhammad grows up and he's, you know, originally a slave trader, and then because anybody who traded slaves, I don't care what time and frame of history and what the culture was, you were just a bad individual as far as I'm concerned. And then he marries what the girl was like 6 or 14, somewhere around in that age frame. I don't care what time frame civilization you ever exist in. There is absolutely no way that a grown ass man can look at a small child and say that that is the person that I'm going to marry. I don't care what the culture is. So no. And then the idea of jihadists, and then Islam has slavery in it as well. Any religion that's okay, slavery is not a religion. It's not a good God. Any type of slavery. Anyone that says that doesn't value women as being sentient beings who can make their own decisions is not a religion I would ever follow. So Islam got kicked to the curb right off the bat. And that's without me really studying it in depth, because there's no reason for me to waste that time. Yep, that's what Jesus said, but that's what the book says that Jesus said. But I can write a book. I can write a religion today. L. Ron Hubbard said, if I ever want to get rich, the one thing I can do is create a religion. And he did. It's called Scientology. If you ever want to control people or get rich, create a religion. Create a religion. You can get rich. You can control people by creating a religion. And it's a great distraction. The government's over here with the right hand doing this magic, doing something, distracting you, while the left hand is over here doing the magic. It's doing the real thing. I mean, look at how many religions have been created because some individual wanted to do something. What Joseph Smith decided, I think it's Joseph Smith for the Mormons. And he was like, hey, you know what? I know I'm married to multiple people. I know they're underage. Y'all trying to put me in jail. I'm a Mormon. Jesus said that I can have these wives and all this kind of stuff. We're going to move out to Utah. Y'all can't arrest me. Religious freedom. Religious freedom. Oh, yeah. And black people, you can only serve us in heaven, serve white people in heaven. That's part of this religion. So no. And that's the thing about all these stories. Even when we talk about the Anunnaki, certain things look like it could be true natural history, but then certain things are way the hell out there. They're way the hell out there. You know, could they have manipulated man's genome? Hell, we got test tube babies nowadays. If a couple wanted to have a baby born with certain eye color, certain type hair, certain skin tones, certain male or female, you can get a ready-made, you can get a ready-made baby. You can get a ready-made baby. So if they're more advanced civilization, if a civilization was more advanced than what we are today, could they have the ability to manufacture a species? Sure. It's possible. It's possible because we are at the beginnings of that possibility right now. At the beginning, it is not improbable that at some point we'll be able to take the egg of a female gorilla, infuse it somehow with the sperm of a man, and create some type of hybrid being. I don't think that we are too far away from that. I think that it's plausible that we'll have the ability to do that within the next, give it some time, 500 years. Even though it probably won't take that long, but within the next 500 years, we'll be able to do something like that. So is it impossible that that Enki did that? Him and Harsak and them? It's plausible because we can see that we can possibly do that at some point in our own history or in our own future. Space travel, that was a little different. There's a lot of matter out there in space. The friction, on your vehicle is going to be something. So unless we can figure out how to travel between wormholes, which is folding space, then we ain't going nowhere outside of this solar system. Probably won't even make it too far past Mars. So I would love to. I would love to be cryogenically frozen, put on a vessel, and what was that movie? Passengers. And 500 years later, wake up, or 200 years later, wake up on a whole new planet. I'd be the first to go. Oh, we got Enlil needs to be sacrificed. Sure does. I actually hope that the Anunnaki are true, and because I want to meet one personally. That's the only reason why I want the Anunnaki story to be the true story, because I want to meet one. I got questions. I got some serious questions. So that's my main reason why I want the Anunnaki story to be true, because I got some questions. And I just want to leave this planet. There's that part. I don't feel like I belong on this planet because most humans bother me. Humans bother me. Maybe I'm the reincarnation of Enlil, and the humans are making too much noise. So do you think that people that don't search within end up being reincarnated? I most certainly do. I think that if you do not reach a certain level of enlightenment, that you are coming back to this planet and you're going to live a whole nother life. And until you figure that out, your ass you're going to keep coming back to this planet and keep living a whole nother life. Are you going to be the same person every time you come back? Nah, you might be right now. You might be your picture has a black dude on it. You might be a black dude this time around, but you might be a white woman or an Asian man or anything else. I don't think you ain't gonna be a blade of grass and flowers and butterflies and all that. Actually, carpe diem. Hinduism is not polytheistic. Christian missionaries went to India and they told them that their religion was polytheistic, and then the Indian people accepted what the people with the guns told them. Hinduism is actually monotheistic because Brahman is the supreme deity, the all within all, and these other what the Europeans call sub deities were not sub deities but just aspects of Brahman. It was a way for them to explain Brahman's nature towards mountains, Brahman's nature towards water, Brahman's nature towards this and that. European Christian missionaries had a very bad habit of going around demonizing other people's religion and telling them what their religion is. Like in Yoruba, Olodumare is head honcho. Everything else, Shango, Oshun, Eshu, they are aspects of Olodumare. Ra is all that there is. The Ogdode actually is all that there is, but Ra is the physical embodiment of the Ogdode, and every other thing that comes out of Ra is a sub deity, what they call sub deities. So no, it is European Christian supremacy that has said that these religions are that, and then if you teach a generation that from birth, then that generation will accept that and they'll start believing it as well. Just like, even though I just explained all of that, you will probably still walk away from this thinking that I'm wrong and that Hinduism is polytheistic. Because you'll talk to a Hindu person and they'll say, yeah, it is, because they have been convinced so, instead of actually reading their book. Trust me, Christians are the only ones who don't read their book. Did I ever watch the movie 2067? You know what? I just watched that movie 2067 last week. That's a good damn movie. That's a good. Y'all should watch 2067. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I ain't gonna tell y'all about it, but it's a good movie. I liked it. See, this is what I'm saying. Each pose in yoga, serpent religion has. So the serpent has only become a negative thing when after the count in and around the Council of Nicaea, when y'all start to demonize the serpent. The serpent before that meant wisdom and change, but Christianity changed it. See, that's the thing. That's why I say people don't go. Yeah, they say you're supposed to study to show yourself approved, but I find the most religious people never study, because if they study, then all of a sudden they have to question things. They have to question the doctrine. And that's why I did the video the other day where I said most people are believing in the authority of the persons who are giving them the doctrine instead of the actual text and the meaning of the text. Where do bad people go? They just reincarnate and come back again. You do it again. There's no such thing as hell. There is no hell. Hell, you want hell? Go find some people who are living. Go find a woman who is trapped in a house and she's being abused and abused and abused. That's hell. That's hell. She's been abused physically and mentally. She's living in hell. Hell is a constant state of mind. It's not a place. What service is that movie? I forgot what service I was looking, because I got all the services, but I think I was watching that. I think it's on Prime. It's either on Prime or Netflix, because I think it's on Prime or Netflix, one of those two. All right, everything got flipped. In my opinion, is not spirituality, then all of it is organized religion. Yeah. Organized religion is the worst thing that you can be a part of. We should look at our own galaxy, then look to go others. We were only on this one end of our galaxy. And you're right. I think we got to figure out, we got to colonize and terraform Mars first, because there's too many people on this planet. Okay, I see that you are a Jesus guy, so I'm pretty much done with that. I just explained everything. You won't go research it, so I already know that you're not going to go research it, Carpe Diem. So we good. And that's the funny thing. Today, Christians will say Jesus despised organized religion and all this kind of stuff. 50 years ago, nobody was saying that. 50 years ago, Christians weren't saying it's a relationship and that Jesus didn't like religion. 50, 60 years ago, none of them were saying that. Yeah. They were claiming their religion strong. But now, because of the way culture has changed, and they all want to be woke. I understand. I ain't speaking for you. That's what you type. Jesus despises man's religion for a reason. That's what you type. What is God? Who is God? The people say we are God's how. Who is God is the wrong kind of question. God is God, the creator is not a who. It's more of an it. It's just a conscious mind at work. It's a conscious intelligence. It's a consciousness. It's not. It's both masculine and feminine. It's not a father nor mother, but both. It is all nature, and it's all nature and all science, and it's all spirit. It is all things, but we manifest as a conscious thought of that creative mind. But that creative mind is not playing around and playing Geppetto and sending judges and demons and sending all this stuff. These things just exist because everything exists on a pole. If you're going to have anything good, then you have to have something bad. You know, if you're going to have something hot, then you have to have something cold. So there's not a who, you know. And as far as we being gods, I'll go as far as give you the little g, only because we have the ability to create and manifest things in our mind and utilize the laws of the universe in a similar but much lower level than the all. Dude, you got to be here on Thursday. Um, get a username. Quit using user 271129. Uh, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but you know that'd be easier. But yeah, we have that ability. So I'm not saying we're not big G's. We're not even little G's really. We're just a conscious being that has the ability to reason. Don't get in your feelings, my guy. I'm just repeating what you said and speaking off of what you said. Okay, you don't have to go. Look, I'm not forcing anybody to go research. You don't want research. You don't want research. I'm good. Have you ever heard of Billy Carson? Yes, I have. So people told me about Billy Carson a few months back, and so I went and saw a couple of his videos. Um, so I like the majority of what I've seen from the videos that I have seen of him. He seems very intelligent. I like the way that he organizes his information. Um, 30 years of research, you ignore that fact. The fact of the matter is, I don't know what you've researched for the last 30 years because you haven't said anything that would indicate what you have researched. Everything you say, for the most part, just sounds like you've researched the Bible itself. You haven't expressed any thoughts that go beyond just the same biblical rhetoric of doctrine that other people espouse. You say the same thing, like you said, reincarnation equals Hinduism without a firm understanding of Hinduism. So that would lead me to believe, and I could be wrong, that you've never actually read the Bhagavad Gita's and studied Hinduism to be able to make that statement. So anybody who would make the statement that Hinduism is reincarnation and that equals polytheism actually is showing me they've never actually studied Hinduism. And when you talk about the serpent, if you only look at the serpent as something demonic, then that shows that you've never studied other ancient cultures and their perspective on the serpent and what the serpent symbolizes to all those cultures. So yes, you said 30 years of research, but your 30 years of research it indicates that you have just studied it from a Christian perspective with a predetermined landing point. And you may call me baby woke, which I hate that term woke now because y'all have the culture, American culture and the world culture has messed it up. But that's merely your opinion because I don't agree with you. You'll be all right. And certified don't mean nothing to me. I'm a certified personal trainer, master nutritionist, and all that kind of stuff. You know, I got certified as a life coach. People can go buy these certifications from these organizations. Hell, college degrees don't even mean that much to me because you're regurgitating what the same information that somebody has mainstream agreed to. So you got to certification that doesn't hold a lot of weight with me because there are a Christian apologist is a person who went to a seminary and took a program where they at the very beginning of it said, no matter what information you learn, you will still say the Bible is right. So what does it matter if you go and get a degree as a Christian apologist or certify as one, but you already decided before you started where you were going to land? You are absolutely right. I did speak for you when I said that you won't go do any research because your response has been such of a person who does not go and do any research beyond that because it's you make your statement, I explain your statement, and no, their response, it is a no response or the response stays in the same vein. So yeah, most likely you won't. But I would be pleasantly surprised I would be happily surprised if you do. And I will take back anything and say, hey man, I was wrong. You went and you did some research. My bad. I apologize. You said that I said nothing intellectually new. Maybe to you. And if I haven't, that's great. You already know those things. But evidently, I did say something intellectually new since I explained the history of how Christian missionaries went around and told people that their religion was polytheistic, because you just automatically knew that people was polytheistic, even though they weren't. So that wasn't something intellectually new that you haven't heard. Love, peace, and blessings to the divine source within, bro. Keep winning and evolving into becoming your greatest version. Love it. Oh, always, Terrence. I will always do that. There's nothing more. There is nothing else to do really on this planet in my consciousness other than to continue to grow it. Sure, I have to live a life and I have to deal with cultures and people and humans, but my main objective is to continue to grow my consciousness and keep on living a life that I decide I want to live. It's called polarity. Yes, exactly. Without polarity, nothing can exist. There's absolutely nothing without polarity. And you're right. There is nothing new under the sun. That was actually a very wise statement that Solomon supposedly was the first person to say, even though you can find that in some other writings of people who came before Solomon. But no, there's nothing new under the sun. It is only new when you're first discovering it, when it first comes to your knowledge. Then it becomes new. Prior to that, but that information has always been there. It's just like when I'm talking to people about business, I'll tell them, if you have an idea for something, somebody else got the exact same idea. Question is, who's going to act and get there first? But there is nothing outside. Nothing works outside of the law, the universal laws. Nothing. Everything fits inside of it. You can't have anything that doesn't. So if there is, and the law of polarity is one of those things that something cannot exist without the other side of it. You have to have the other side of it. So this is why when he said, who is God? He said, I'm sorry, it just popped up. He said biblical law. You know how jacked up some of those biblical laws are. But anyway, when he said, who is God? That's why I say God is not a who, but a consciousness. It's a state of being, right? So if you have all good, you have to have all evil. But that's a state of conscious being, not an actual being, right? But we see the polarity even within the Anunnaki story. You have Enlil on one side and Enki on the other side. The same story told over and over again. There's always two brothers who war against each other, who have issues with each other. And each one of them want to be their father's favorite. Let's see, who is this pulling up? Do I know this dude? I don't even know who it is. Oh, he gonna be an in and out. He gonna be an in and out, so we ain't gonna have to stop.
What's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing? You in and out, or you staying?
I'm in and out, man.
All right. What do you normally get? What do you normally get? What's that?
Ligas.
Oh yeah, that's right. Am I out of Liga? Should be something down there. The nasty free.
Y'all got the Fritas, so.
Yeah, the nasty free, the Papa Frida.
Yep.
Okay. I got some cigars in a box, so I didn't know if you want to. Biblical laws are written in our hearts. Now, there are actually some people who don't know right from wrong. They have mental issues that they can't distinguish between right and wrong. But that ain't the laws I was talking about. Hold on, y'all. I'll be right back. How's it going for you today, man?
I'm good, man. By yourself.
Pretty good.
These still.
Doing my favorite thing.
Is it 3 for 1 still? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Over there on the line doing one of my favorite things. So, you know.
Nothing wrong with that. You got to market your business. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, this ain't marketing business. This is my podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
This is my real thing there.
Okay.
once this cigar lounge is running by itself, and y'all don't see me in here,
Okay.
and I move to Puerto Rico,
Okay.
I'll be doing this all day.
Oh man, hey man, that's the goal, man. Shoot. You got my brother stationed, man.
Oh, he was stationed down there?
Yeah. Intergrated. That's one same one.
But he's not there anymore, right?
Nah.
But they shut that down, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
22, 26.
He left New York. He met his wife out there.
Now I'm taking sand to the beach.
Okay.
This show ain't. They ain't got time to be going all that bull.
Yeah. Be easy, man.
I got it.
I bless you.
I found me some good sand, so what the hell am I taking some more sand?
Exactly. All right, man.
All right, bro. All righty. Let's see if I missed anything. God's source are us. Oh, source, that's us. Yeah, it's within us. It's within us. Look, the amazing thing about the microcosm and the macrocosm is that everything is within us. Everything is in the everything that's in the microcosm is in the macrocosm. That just pretty much is the law correspondent: as above, so below; as within, so without. Christians get poly and pan prefixes confused. All right, pantheisms are different than polytheism. But even in most pantheonons, you can still see. Oh, yeah, I just ate a piece of chocolate because I smoked the second cigar and cleans your palate. So you can actually smoke the second one better. Even in the pantheons, those usually are still derived from one main source. They still usually derive from one main source. So that should tell you one thing: all religions, all mythologies have a universal source that the majority of them initiate from. And then they make up their stories of splitting and how, well, we live in Thebes, so our primary person is going to be Athena, and how Athena becomes number one for us. Did I say Thebes? Thebes is not Greek. Thebes is Kemetic. But you know what I mean? ISIS or somebody. Something is true where you will see it on many levels. And I agree to that, which is why I like the Kabbalion, which is why, the Hermetic laws are true laws, because I can see the Hermetic laws on so many different levels. I can find the Hermetic laws in every religion. Because honestly, I think that most religions derived from an understanding of the Hermetic laws. And then they began to anthropomorphize in order to separate themselves from other people who were in the same vein. In the same way the Babylonians changed the Akkadian story to fit them. The Akkadians changed the Assyrians changed the Sumerians, and I might have that mixed up with the Akkadians and Assyrians as far as their time frame. I think it was the Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and then Sargon of Akkad. He was the first one who created an empire. Then he had the Syrians, and then the Babylonians. I think that's the way it goes. But there's some flip-flopping too, like it was Akkadian, Assyrian, Akkadian, Assyrian. The omnipresent aspect referred to in the Bible is a pantheistic idea. And it's a polytheistic idea. The triune God didn't come about wholeheartedly until around 200 to 320, and then got solidified in 325. And really, it didn't get solidified till after that, when they went and they started killing all the Gnostics and anybody in Rome, in the Roman Empire, who didn't want to become Christian. Think about that. Most people are Christian because through some level, if they go through their ancestry, they will get to a point where violence became the methodology that they became Christian. And that's most religions. At some point, it was an act of violence, an act of control. whether it was violence or control. So I'm that control in there as well, because I do know that many of the people in Islam, many Islamic people became Islamic because of control or benefits. Oh, you don't want to get taxed? Become Islamic. That's a method of control. Hell, I know people, oh, I met this woman, I met this man. Oh, the only way I can be with you is to become part of your religion. I'm about to become part of your religion. That's about the closest to somebody converting to religion for love that I can find, that I can think of. Girl, you got that good poom poom? I will become whatever religion you want me to become, girl. You treat me great, I will become whatever religion you want me to become. What? Let's study this thing together. You know what? You right, girl. You right. Okay. I have seen in my own experience how people who, if they didn't have some type of sexual attraction to me, romantic attraction to me, would have never started thinking differently than the religion that they were previously in if they had never met me and started dating me. Let's see what I'm gonna see if I can add you, Keith. It's 107. We only got so much time before somebody come in here and want to sit in here all day. But yeah, I've seen people make that change. I've seen their mind start changing. And I used to think, oh, these persons are changing because they're with me, they're learning all this stuff, they're thinking through this stuff themselves. But then when the relationship don't work, they go right back to their religion. And I'm like, oh, no, they were just saying these things and being this way because they were with me. That's why they was doing it. So that's the closest to love that I would say that somebody may convert from one thing to another thing is when they're with somebody like that. That is why when, like, me and the young lady that I'm with right now, I asked right after that, what's your stance on what's religion, where you at, and all this sort of thing, what do you think, and all this kind of stuff, because I want you to already be where you at before I'm not going to be that influence, and that influence can't come out of romantic BS. Imprinting works. Our fertile mind was imprinted with the Abrahamic POV while we were young. Exactly. Some people don't realize that just merely walking around, growing up, and you can grow up in America and not go to church or mosque or synagogue, but your mind, your environment is imprinting Abrahamic religions on you all the time. You pass by a church, your reticular cortex start recognizing that there's a church, there's a church, there's a church, there's a mosque, there's a mosque, there's a mosque. You are watching television, it was like, oh, you got to pray, and sometimes we just got to pray, oh, Lord, and dear God, and thank you, Jesus, and all that. They hear all these kind of things on a television show they're watching, maybe just a sentence here, a sentence there, but all of that is imprinting on the mind constantly. So it's no wonder that when they have some kind of experience, must have been Jesus, or it must have been Allah, whichever one resonated with them is the one that they will drift towards. And generally it's the one that their parents already have. Because I know many people whose parents never went to church and they were some ragged ass people. I'm talking about they fussing, fighting, cussing, stealing, doing all this kind of stuff. But they will sure say that they believe in Jesus. And of course, a Christian person will say that that person is not real Christian anyway, but they are still imprinting on somebody else that they believe in Jesus. And then who are you to judge? At least by the same method ye shall be judged. Got to throw that one out there. And in doing so, sex becomes our true God. Your God is whatever you submit to. It wouldn't be a bad thing. What's your God? Sex. Who are your gods of sex? Eros, Ishtar, Elnana. What them goddesses of fertility. I'm all right. No, but sex can't be your god or goddess. because you will find yourself disappointed when you can't do it no more. Can't do it no more. I plan on being like the color purple. How'd he die? On top of me. I'm gonna color purple this thing, y'all. Even though I'm pissed off that they're making a remix. That's some bullshit. They're remaking that movie and they're gonna add. I love musicals, but don't make that into a musical. Messing up Color Purple. So, man, I thought we was gonna, yeah. So we talked about the Anunnaki. I'm still holding on to my dual theory of the possibility of both previous intelligent civilization that went through one of Earth's many cataclysmic events and restarted civilization. The Göbekli Tepe demonstrates that a society existed about 12,000 years ago, and then something was happening or about to happen, and they covered up these temples as if covering a time capsule so that we can rediscover it later. But Göbekli Tepe is about 12,000 years old. The pyramids, the Great Pyramids, are somewhere in the neighborhood of 26 to 56,000 years old. And if it's 56,000 years old, then it would match what is written in the Emerald Tablets when Thoth said that he came and he built the pyramids 56,000 years ago after some major cataclysmic event that sunk many islands, but destroyed the entire Atlantean culture. So Thoth could be the Anunnaki, or was he an earthbound Atlantean that was already here, but just was a higher conscious as well as higher intelligent beings who knew how to make structures out of earth and material, as well as understanding ley lines. Because, and one thing about ley lines, you'll find ley lines on every major city exists on a ley line of a ley line crossings. But they were able to use energy. What am I hearing? Earth does exude energy. We have yet to be able to truly extract clean, free energy based on Earth. And we should be able to. I mean, just the amount of energy in a wave crashing is tremendous. And so if you have to choose a guy to look up to, be Inky. I think I'm going to get some strange visitors who've never been here before. Hold on for a second. How you doing, gentlemen? Hey, how you doing? Right. First time?
Yeah, we were coming by for a haircut, but we got 15 minutes till he's back, so we figured we would
check out what you got.
So you're more than welcome to the humidor. We do a daily deal where you pick up 4 sticks, your least expensive is on the house. So buy 3, get 1 free.
Oh, okay.
You're more than welcome to the humidor. Check it out. Sweet. Thank you. Slide.
Slide.
Yep. So they just being nosy. But yeah, if I did have to choose one of those things, Inky would be one of the best candidates, but I couldn't even choose Inky. Inky's a being, a corporal being. There's no corporal being. I'm not going to worship any being, period. I refuse to worship any being. But something that lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, rests, have sex, piss and shit. I'm not worshiping none of that. You're just another being. Maybe you're just more technologically advanced, but you're just another being. You don't deserve my worship. I'm not worshiping you. Wouldn't worship any being. And any being that I would deem as the all, as the creator, if it requires worship, then it is no longer the creator because it has a requirement, it has a need. The all cannot need anything. We're definitely going to talk about that tomorrow when we are going through the Kabbalion. Going through another chapter or so of the Kabbalion, because I think we're starting out with the all. I bookmarked it, but I don't see my book. It must be back over there somewhere. I must have moved it, put it back on over near me. But we'll be going over the all, and I think the divine paradox is another part of what we'll talk about tomorrow, because Thursday's book club day of going through the all. I mean, we're going through the Kabbalion. Well, the Kabbalion required, if the all required worship, is no longer the all, because worship will be a force that forces the all to do something. Right, a needy God is a contradiction. Exactly, a needy God, a jealous God, an angry God, any of these emotional states. I don't know them people, so I gotta keep looking back. Any God that is that has any level of an emotional state that forces them to do something and be something, cannot be the all, cannot be the creator, cannot be God. You're just another being, and no matter how intelligent or powerful you are, I'm not gonna worship you just because you are of a higher consciousness or a higher intellect. If you have human-like qualities and needs, you can't be the all. Mm-mm. They better buy something, because I hate when people say, "Oh, I got 15 minutes, I ain't doing nothing, so let me come down here and just waste your time." But that's why I'm not a shopper, so I never understand shopping. If I have 15 minutes, I just sit my ass out there in front of their spot and wait. I'm just a very direct person. I'm not gonna do that to somebody. Hold on. What we got?
I just got two. You don't have any macaroons.
Boxes empty.
Well, we got Macanudo black. The Inspirado black. At the bottom. As soon as you open the door, right at the very bottom, it's right next to the red box. You see the red and the white box?
Let's do this one instead.
Instead of the blue cheese.
Yeah, instead of blue cheese.
How you doing with that?
Hey, what's that? It's good word.
Man, there's no such thing as a good word. I have a whole big phrase, I have a sentence, I have an entire soliloquy.
You doing good.
All right, it's gonna be $25.97. If you ever use a card here, it'll also say Uncle Renz popcorn, because I used to own popcorn shop. I'm just running on Texas. Just to let you know.
Okay.
You got hanging out with me? Next one?
No, we're good.
All right. I will put them in the bag for you.
Okay, then.
All right. That different? I like it. We got some good spice to it. Good little dark roast almond kind of thing going on. Thank you. All right, guys, go. Ah! I just want to say it again.
Same.
I just want to say it again. Nobody's singing
Pretty good.
anything, sir.
Ain't good.
No, sir. You didn't come over here yesterday, did you? Oh, that was Greg who didn't come. Greg, where are you? Man. Oh, yeah, that's right. I get my days confused. 1940.
So that's right.
You have an excuse.
We can hold on to that 60 cents.
I will.
Come there one day, I'm gonna need a couple grand.
A couple of grand? I don't know. You might came to the wrong place. But let me get off this thing. Let me see if there's any other statements or questions before I get off here. Thank you guys for being patient. As you know, I run my cigar lounge, but now Ty's here, so I'm gonna have to get off here in a minute here. I don't necessarily have to, because you know.
Let's sit outside for a few minutes.
Are you going outside? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have a little bit more time. Your other cronies coming?
Not great. Tony for
Okay. Daytime old men smokers. That's what I call them. They're the old man daytime smoking gang. Sir, you late? Don't try to air condition all outside, okay?
Huh?
You're trying to air condition all outside. Stay in or stay out. Oh man, I'm sorry about that. Look, that's how we play at the lounge. Okay, we talk tracks. Anita guy is an oxymoron. Exactly, sounds like a conflict within oneself. I do think that most people do have a conflict within themselves, and that's why they can't. They attach themselves to whatever spirituality and truly become overzealous about it. Is because they just haven't resolved within themselves that you don't need a book or a religion or a relationship in order to connect with your own divinity and to connect with the divinity, connect with the universe. You know, as long as you have to have some book to keep you moral, or some religion or some deity to keep you moral, to connect you, you got an internal problem. You have a serious internal problem with yourself. Your swing of your pole is off, you know, in your rhythm, and you haven't polarized yourself to one side, which is what the goal should be, is to polarize ourselves to one side so that we have a higher conscious vibration than and not be swinging left and right too much. But once you solve those internal conflicts, you'll find that you'll be in a much better space. This is why I pull information from different sources. For instance, one of my favorite things that I love is from the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas that was found at Nag Hammadi, where it says in the second one, "Seeking ye shall find, and when you find, you will be disturbed. After you are disturbed, you will marvel and then reign over all." It is as true a statement of you going within to understand self and to become whole within self than it is to do it outside of self. Because later on in a bunch of other ones, it talks about if you haven't found the kingdom within, then you ain't gonna get the kingdom without. You know, the kingdom is inside of you, and it's all around you, but you've had blinders put on. It talks about how the Pharisees are like dogs who sit in front of the trough. They do not eat, nor do they allow the other animals to eat. You see, when you go through the process of self-discovery, it can be, and most of it oftentimes is disturbing because you've been conditioned to think and be one way. But after you get past that disturbance, you begin to marvel. One of the marvels is that life becomes easier, life becomes more peaceful and quiet, and you become a better person, period, to yourself. And then when you reign over yourself, meaning reign over your emotions, your mental state, your energetic state, then you become the self-determining force for your life. And maybe you stop, as I believe, reincarnating and coming back to this planet. Thanks for all you do, Coach. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow as well. Great days. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we'll continue our journey on the Kabbalion. After the Kabbalion, I don't know what book we're going to do after the Kabbalion. We might do the Tao. I like the Tao. The Tao is very simple, and I love the fact that the Tao says that after Buddhism, once you discover the Tao, you no longer need Buddhism. It's like once you get into the way, once you understand self and how the universe works, and you come into unity with the universe, you no longer need any religions. Take y'all militarily. We're going to do the art of war. Nah, we ain't going to do that. But we will do The Richest Man in Babylon as a book. We will do the Outwitting the Devil as a book. We're gonna do some of my core books that I reread over and over again. We will do those for this whole book club thing. We'll do the Gospel of Thomas. That one's going to be a bit interesting when we go through that one. But those are all on Thursday, so it's going to take a while to get to those things. But I actually do have some work to do today. Good stuff. You don't need religion to be a good person. You certainly don't. You certainly don't. I found some of the best people, nicest people I ever met don't have religion. Every time I say I'm about to get off here, y'all are always trying to ask a question. I see what you're doing, Teresa. I see what you're doing. Can recommend which rendition of the Gospel of Thomas do you have? I don't know, because I downloaded it. It's a downloaded document for me. And the hardest part is figuring out where in the hell did I. It's on my laptop somewhere. I got so much information on this laptop I really should go through and reorganize all of it so that I can find everything. Where would I have put the Gospel of Thomas? Usually I just do a search through my C drive and find it. That's the richest man in Babylon. This is all financial stuff on this one. So why is it Aristotle? Oh, no, that's an investment guide. It should be in this one. Yep. I got the Bruce version and I got the Scholars version. I downloaded 2 different versions. I got the Scholars version, and then there's the Bruce version. Are the 2 that I downloaded. There's another version that will have 3 different people's version of it. But those are the 2 versions that I have, that I've downloaded. Well, right. Okay, so earlier today I had one called a Cubano. It's not one of my favorites, but I was driving. So I never smoke. I hardly ever, unless I'm on a long trip, I never smoke one of my favorite cigars while I'm driving. From Louisiana. Come on up to Georgia. But this one is one that I like. It's called the Year of the Rabbit from Provider Club. And I know I'm doing a review on Provider Club's blue cheese cigar later today. And that's a good question. What's in my box for today? Oh, and I don't know what else I'm smoking. I might smoke the Leaf by Oscar Sumatra. I'll probably do a Leaf by Oscar Sumatra later today. And what am I going to cap the day with, though? What's today, Wednesday? Yeah, today's Wednesday. So I leave the lounge at 10. So lounge closes at 10 tonight. That Leaf by Oscar Sumatra might be my last cigar for today. Because, yeah, probably will be. Oh no, I got an LFD today. I think I got an LFD or Oscuro number 6. I think I bought some of those today. It depends on what I eat. If I eat something real heavy, that Oscuro number 6. I mean that not Oscuro number 6. The LFD cabinet number 6. Yeah, just look them up. And I always get multiple versions. What I did was I read multiple versions of it over the years, and then just so that I have different variations of what it is. I don't normally do the interpretation versions where somebody else is interpreting it initially. I'll go look at that after I've read it for myself a bunch of times, gain my own understanding of it. And then I go and I look at some of the other people's interpretations of it and their breakdowns and how it coincides with other different teachings and understandings. And then, but I'll meditate on the fact of, okay, I read this aspect of this verse. How does this fit with the natural laws of the universe? And then I'll go from there when I study it. But I think we are going to end this today because I got to do a cigar review later and I need to eat. I'm hungry as all get out right now. I ate breakfast at 9 o'clock, 8:30. So I'm very much famished. So it's time to eat something. So if all hearts and minds are clear, tomorrow we will be going over the Kabbalion, continuing our journey of the Kabbalion. If you missed the first portion of the Kabbalion, then you can go to my YouTube page, which is Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, or just type in my name, Larenzoreid, LaRenzoreid, and there is a playlist called Kabbalion. You will find the other couple of videos that we've already done with Kabbalion We're just getting started with it. So you'll be able to find those there. If you are interested in catching up with us on our Why I Left Religion What's Wrong with the Bible series, we've already done all of Genesis. We're halfway through, if not towards the end of Exodus, and we'll be continuing. I know we'll definitely continue and go through Deuteronomy and Leviticus. Don't know how far we'll go after that. But definitely go and check those out on my YouTube channel. They're in a playlist called What's Wrong with the Bible, and it has Genesis, and then there's another one that has Exodus. And we'll continue with those. And for all other videos. So please like and subscribe every page that you're on. Share the page, share the video. There are some aspects of these videos that I will chop up and repost on the different channels, because TikTok, you can't see a live after the live is done. You can't, I always don't like that about TikTok, but you can't go see a live after it's done. You have to go to one of my other channels. But thank you guys for sharing everything. Thank you guys for people who gave financially to the channel. So I appreciate that. And I look to continue to grow the channel. You know, we're almost at 30,000 people on TikTok. Let's keep that going. We're at like 13,000 on Facebook. Let's keep it going. We're at 7,600 on YouTube. Let's get those numbers up, because we want to find more people who vibe in our tribe. All right. Because, you know, as I always say, and as I end this, in order to free ourselves, I'm messing it up. You have to be yourself to free yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and I will see you guys tomorrow. 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 Gonna do a couple of Spanish lessons before I get started with my work.